six.
Yeah.
No, that's a great
Very
thing.
exciting.
I don't believe she's hurting for money yet.
No.
No,
Yeah.
Perfect.
I also look for executive
Yes.
session.
yeah, we're going directly there, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not setting up my computer
Yeah.
because.
I set up my computer, so I'm gonna unplug and walk over there and hopefully it will
Yeah.
survive the walk and. Cause I have things up for executive session. My general hope, because we have a fairly weighty agenda item, agendas tonight, is to do, I'll try to keep us focused. I mean, I think the three of us are pretty decent at that, but.
Surprisingly.
Well, we're minus one on the agenda.
Yeah, but that was gonna be a fast one. It was on the agenda to be.
Seems like
Yeah.
it's.
Do you think it's heavy? I didn't think it was,
I think A and C are heavy
Okay.
on under 2. I think 4 has some heaviness to it. And I think, I think. Well, because of executive session, I think 6A will be fast. 6B would be,
Well, we're all.
I'm gonna lean forward when the meeting happens. I think we could,
yeah, because I'm a problem child.
I think we could get 2.5.
Chris needs to be here.
We're really trying to do that.
Not gonna yell just because the mic screwed up. I'm not gonna do it.
We don't need her in the room to call it order and go to executive session.
We don't.
Counterbalance. Sort of where.
I think I'm gonna start the meeting. We're all ready technologically, correct?
5:58.
It's only 5:58.
Mine says 6 o'clock. My watch does say 5:50. So. That says 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay. The computers say 5:58.
Now 5:59. Now we switched.
Yep, 5:59.
So I was gonna get on a case because I read disclaimers 30 seconds early.
They get hit by. That's.
We should really wait till 6. Sorry.
Say, probably getting it down to level.
I'm a risk taker.
Stable. Everything is.
Because we have people potentially coming here at 6, who have been told to come here sort of at 6:30 for presentations.
Stop.
We
it.
really should try to make sure we're out of executive session by 6:30.
That's been in.
Why is he just telling you now?
I don't.
Don't know why. Am I doing something out of order?
No, no,
no.
I thought I heard a he and like,
Yeah.
since I'm one of the few he's up here.
6 p.m.
Oh, come on. All right. Technical person.
I'm totally fine with that.
I can't get it.
We're good.
It's 6.
It's.
All right, we'll work on this down the hall.
Yeah. That's a 2-factor authentication. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Berlin Board of Selectmen, Wow, my brain is a
Oh, my.
horrible place. Welcome to the select board meeting for Monday, February 2nd, 2026. It is 6 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. As a reminder, I'll probably read this again when we come out of executive session, but the open public session meetings are subject to being recorded. Your image and your voice will be recorded. Tonight, we are starting our meeting with an executive session. The board's going to enter executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A. The purpose to conduct negotiations with non-union personnel, both for the interim town administrator and an assistant to the town administrator. The board will reconvene in open session at the conclusion of executive session. I believe that is that formally we need a motion on that? So I move it second and then we vote?
We do need a vote, yeah.
Well, I know we need a vote, but I think we can just go right to a vote on this, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
Okay, great. We are in executive session. We'll return as soon as we're done. I have great hopes and expectations. That is about 6:30.
Or until our laptops die.
I hope we're not in executive session so long, but our laptops. No, how about turn the sign around?
Oh, turn it around, Kristen.
And then,
Roger
yes,
has it.
very good.
There you go.
Yep. Because it doesn't have a packing to it, it needs a door stopping sort of thing in the front.
So I get for trying to be comfortable and mess it up. I very much started watching the other.
Should I need to appoint every single teacher that they did in the fall for doing mentality? Really struggling. I mean,
of coming forward to speak. You won't be able to do it from the audience. You have to speak at that table. Otherwise, the microphones won't pick you up and you won't be audible to the people watching at home and people watching it back on playback. The microphones are directional microphones. And so if you turn to talk to the person next to you, the microphone doesn't pick you up anymore. And so even if you're talking to the person next to you, try to keep the faces forward and talking into the microphone. I'll let you know, the three of us have had those instructions for years and we're still not great at it. So if we remind you to turn forward and speak into the microphone, we're not picking on you because we pick on each other constantly. And we're gonna, the select board is sort
Did
of,
we just mention signing in name
Yeah,
and
yep.
address?
yep. If you also come forward, which we'll do, please sign in on the sheet there to let us know who you are so we can record it formally for the minutes. We do have later on a general public comment session, and so people can sign up for that in a little bit, but we're going to start with our presentations. We're going to start talking about the Randall Road parking complaints. Those of you, I assume it's the two of you, if you want to come forward first and sign in and give us a sort of summary of the issue from your place, and then we will take it from there. Is that okay? Okay.
Can I get my folder?
At other points, if other people want to talk, this will be an open hearing where we're hoping to keep it sort of focused on the issues at hand. Officially, our rules say that you are allowed only up to about 3 minutes to comment. I will add a little bit more, especially for the first folks who are sort of presenting the issue. I'll give them a little bit more leeway on that just to get us sort of the background, and we'll sort of go from there. I can also let people know who are in the audience that the second presentation tonight about the general store in the center of town is going to be passed over. There's not a discussion on that at all tonight. So, oh, you've been abandoned.
I lost him.
I know. Yeah, you both can sit. Yeah, we can have multiple people there. Introduce yourself
Hi, my
and
name is Nikki McCoon. I live at 371 Randall Road.
Yep.
And this is my husband, Roger Bergevin.
And-
And he also resides at 371 Randall Road. So I want to begin by saying, the owner of the restaurant from the beginning, he was very nice, came over, introduced himself, and I appreciate that because was the first owner that's ever done that. We haven't had a situation like this before that has gotten this bad. We don't have peaceful enjoyment of our property right now due to this issue. The parking is an issue. They park up and the patrons park up and down on both sides of the road. They turn around in our driveway. We had one time, I just gotten home from work and a lady was in my driveway and she said, I'm running late. So can I just park here? And I wanted to invite her to dinner. And then we have people making U-turns in front of our house. So we're sitting in our living room and the cars pull up, they park across the side of the road, and then they make a U-turn and flashing the lights all in our windows. And so this has been a constant for the past year. We've also experienced people yelling. We have vomit on the side of the road. My dog tried to eat it, which is disgusting. There's been numerous trash items in the river. And they're boxes and they're addressed to West Street Tavern, the river, North Brook, right next to my house. We've documented a lot of these things. My husband has documented them on his phone, the turnarounds, the lights in the driveway, the blinkers, honking late at night. For about a week, somebody sat out there at around 11:30 at night and honked, laid on their horn. And then Roger got up, flipped on the light, and they drove off. And so I don't know what that was about. It was kind of odd. We've had people fighting in the street, like yelling at each other. And I don't know if they're overserved. I'm not making that assumption. But, and it's actually dangerous because we don't have streetlights or sidewalks. And I mean, I appreciate that. I don't want that. But there's people walking now that the snow is here, walking down Randall Road, and it's a busy road and people fly down that hill. And so I have concern about their safety and I have concern about my own well-being. I have mobility issues. I have some health issues. I don't want to get into
Mhm.
much detail about that, but so it's constant out front, turning around. The dog starts barking. He's at the window because he hears voices outside. And so, and I don't know what we can do to resolve this. I've thought of ideas, but I look for your guidance in helping us resolve this issue. And if you'd like to see any pictures, videos, things like that, he has them on his phone.
Lisa or Peg, do you have things to ask or?
No,
Okay.
I mean,
And I just
Right.
wonder how
Right.
anybody else would feel in this position. And our neighbors have complained about it, and there's two neighbors that are
Mhm.
elderly. And one lady
Mhm.
just lost her husband, and other people have small children, and it's just a nuisance.
In your note to the select board, you talked about some of the things that you have done to try to resolve this.
Absolutely.
Do you want to just, so the record of
Sure,
us, other people haven't
in the
seen that?
beginning,
Yep.
in the beginning, we put up cones in the driveway to block people from just pulling in the driveway and turning around. Then they resorted to pulling a U-turn and driving onto our front lawn. And we've had occasions that they dug up the front lawn. So then we put boulders out on the front lawn. And it's not very attractive. I don't like it, but if it stops the turning around, that's great. And I don't want people tearing up my front lawn. And then we put up no U-turn. We put it up on the telephone pole at our own expense. I mean, we purchased these signs. We bought cones for our neighbor. We bought no U-turn signs for our neighbor. We bought signs for no parking, and no turnarounds in our driveway. And it's to no avail. And I'm not saying I don't know what to do about it
Right.
because it's not really the owner's fault. The patrons aren't listening and it's just making us miserable.
Yeah, which I appreciate. There's not far from my house, there's a place where people like to watch sunsets that has some of the similar problems where there are
Mhm.
people who are sometimes residents and sometimes not, who are not always following some of the rules that sort of ruin it sometimes for the rest of us.
Mhm.
And you know, sometimes, I mean, it is a small town. We like our small town and we like the fact there's not a lot of regulation sometimes in a small town. And so I don't even think, and Kristen, if I know this correct, our bylaws don't allow even currently for us to put parking restrictions in areas of town, correct? Right.
It's not on a public way.
And sadly, or officially, the U-turns are legal in streets.
Mhm.
Although driving on people's properties is not, and not, you know, you definitely have the right to make sure people don't come onto your driveway.
Mhm.
I just sometimes, you know, trying to figure out where what we're allowed to do
Mhm.
as select board. At the same time, you know, we greatly want to encourage businesses in this town. I am ecstatic that business is being
Oh,
successful.
I'm happy
and-
they're successful.
and,
Mhm.
I don't get there nearly as often as I would like to get there, but you know, what frequented the earlier versions of it a couple times as well. And so trying to, I'm thinking back of the frustrations we had at the top of the hill there with fights and
Oh, the
and loud music, yeah, and trash and frankly, if we could figure out trash is I think a universal problem around this town. I can walk my dog past my house and pick up the trash every single day and still pick up more. And
Mhm.
I don't get why people are just not respectful to either other people's properties or frankly, even their own communities, because I walk down some dead end streets that have trash on them. And I generally think that only people who live on that street drive down those dead end streets, but
Mhm.
um, I don't know. if
I'm
Yeah.
wondering,
Mm.
is this worse? Like, I'm thinking that it's probably worse on weekends or worse at different times. I'm wondering if there is additional enforcement that we can for some of it. I'm not sure how. That would be a question for the police chief. But if there are specific times where it's worse than other times, or
Well, the nights they have music, it's really bad.
okay.
It's usually because it's dark out now at like 5 o'clock, and they're only open, my understanding is, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, now Sunday. But during the day, it's not an issue for us. I mean, people, they're not flashing their lights and everything. And we've got cones up and we've tried to be respectful. One lady, actually drove over our cones and left her plastic wheel well in our driveway. And our cone was squashed. The wheel well was in the driveway. And she just drove away down to down and parked down on the side of the brook.
Hopefully she has a large repair bill now.
Yes, I'm
Good
hoping
describe-
so too.
Yep.
Have we talked to the police chief about whether there are enforcement things that we could do
Well,
from like trespassing
Are you
or?
willing to come forward and talk about that? He happens to be on the agenda later on, and so
Yeah,
he's here.
That's
and-
fine. That's
and-
fine.
Yep.
So we, when I say we, Fred and I have gone down, measured the town easements. We marked the sides of the roads, for them, so they understood where their town easements were,
Mhm.
which are considerably far back on going up the hill on the right-hand side. We have no bylaw that prohibits the parking there. There's no state law that prohibits parking. So that would have to be like a town amendment to the parking regulations if somebody wanted to do a citizen's petition to change it.
Your lines help make sure that help them place the boulders to make sure that people aren't.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
Fred
that was-
originally went down and helped set the boulders,
Okay.
and we went down when there was a sign issue, post
Right.
on the opposite side of the street.
Yep.
And that's so it comes down to, unfortunately, fortunately, but unfortunately, there's no regulation on parking on that road.
Yeah, I'm more thinking about, the infringement on their property. Any sort of safety issues that may be happening due to the amount of traffic or those types of things, if there's anything that we can do surrounding those types of things. I know that parking and U-turns are not probably things that we can address, but the other sort
Yeah,
of safety
the
issues or
sounds, the
trespassing
parking, the
issues.
Trespassing.
Yeah, the trespassing issues when they happen, call us. Safety issues, I know I went by a couple weeks ago and I saw the mat out there, snow blowing past and moving snow back for safety issues. I mean, I think we're,
Wait,
Can I
Right, right.
interrupt for
Yeah,
a
yeah,
second?
yeah.
I don't think that was I think he was snow blowing that directly across from our house. That's the only place where they snow blowed it. And directly across from our house, and I felt that was antagonistic and not helpful.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I went up and approached Mrs. POTUS, Marsha POTUS, asked her about putting stuff on the other side of the road to stop the parking from across the street from my house. We got talking, I put logs there, the chief, Goody, and the town highway department guy came over. They measured off my stuff, basically 4 feet back from the road.
Mhm.
And then I got a phone call stating that Mrs. POTUS never really gave me permission to put the parking signs there and the stuff I had put there. So I was told either I removed it that day or the Mrs. POTUS' son would remove it and send me a bill. I got home that day, I removed it, and out of the 30 years I've been there, not one time has anybody ever plowed the other side of the road. They had Officer Baum's son come with a tractor and a snow blower and snow blow the whole area to open it up for parking.
and that goes back to the owners taking initiative for safety. Mrs. POTUS did file a letter with the police department saying that she never gave any permission to put any signs up on our property, nor did she really want to be involved in this, but she welcomed the business.
Well, and again, the parking is allowed on town roads in the town easement space. So
Yes.
the town that it is legal to park
I know
there.
parking's not the issue. It's
Right.
the U-turning and flashing lights in our
Well,
windows.
and you turning is legal as
Yeah,
well.
and I got plenty of videos to prove it.
I think, so I go back to the sort of top of the hill near me, and I think for a little bit of time when things were bad, officers made a point of sort of driving by a couple times here and there during some of the more now that has a more defined window of when that was a problem.
Yeah, well, everybody was
But-
also in their cars or within their
Right,
cars.
right,
and,
yeah, so it's
You
easier to
know,
get the.
we spent back a few weeks ago, when we did have an issue with parking. I think the officer spent well over an hour trying to figure out
Right.
whose cars were whose
Right,
and to get the issue rectified. But yeah, I mean, that's the issue, that people aren't worth the cars and we
Right.
don't know. Yeah, we're not gonna walk in a restaurant with a PA and start yelling out names either.
and I believe that the West Street Tower has also done a few things to help make the problem a little bit less problematic, in that they're paying for parking for their employees to be somewhere else so that their own parking lot has a little bit more space. Now it's probably, I mean, they don't have 100 employees there, but they have several, and that helps it a tiny bit. I don't want to.
No, but I mean, Nikki, where you said that the problem is higher on nights that there's music.
Yes.
I mean, those are defined nights. If you can send patrol, because, I mean, let's be honest, Eric, they call. By the time it gets to dispatch, by the time it gets to Berlin, by the time it gets to one of your officer, it's now 20 minutes later. So that, to me, is not efficient for her to keep calling unless it's just a continual log. But if you know that on Fridays there's an event, on Saturdays there's an event, and if your folks are out patrolling, can't you jiggle their schedule so they are around the area? So maybe even just the presence of a cruiser can
Yeah,
change
I mean,
behavior?
we can never promise. We do the best that we
Yeah.
can. That's why we always encourage people to call.
Right,
Most of these events get out at 11 and shift changes at 11. Nor am I gonna incur the expense of overtime to hold somebody over to stay down there, 2 nights a week. Over the course of a year, they get pretty costly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we do the best we can. I mean, we run just shy of 16,000 calls a year, and, divide that by 365 days, 24 hours, and,
Yeah.
we're pretty active, but.
yeah, you're about to give a report of like 1,200 calls in a month, I think is.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
And we-
yeah, like I said, we try to do our best. I mean, I know when I come home on the weekends, Fridays and Saturdays, I take the roundabout way and I do drive through there, myself, my way home. And yeah, there's cars. I'm not gonna deny that, but I never see people out there. I don't
Yeah.
get to witness U-turns. I'm usually going through about 10:30, so.
The across Randall Road from the parking lot, there's some spaces by the railroad. Are those usable in the winter time?
Yeah, they're cleared out. We had the railroad police out here. I want to say I was in a short sleeve
Yeah.
shirt, so probably September.
Okay,
And railroad police had no issues whatsoever with the parking.
that's typically where I park. I didn't want to say that out loud unless it was
Yeah.
legal to. park
No,
there, so.
no. We solicited the railroad police to come out. And we also had Mass DOT,
Yeah.
Mass DOT do the traffic as well with us, and signage, and to kind of reinvent that intersection. But yeah, we've taken all steps on our end.
And there's not really spaces on 62 to park.
No,
Yeah,
no.
And we've all actually welcomed and asked if the police want to sit in our driveway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
patrol and see.
The speed limit on top of the hill sign says 25 miles an hour.
But
You come around the corner by
Yeah.
Eloise's house, there's a sign saying 25 miles an hour.
yeah.
And they're well over 25 miles an hour coming down that hill.
And I'm not sure, maybe you can speak to this, about the, is it 40 miles an hour or is it 25 miles an hour on that road?
You know what? I will seek out Fred tomorrow and we'll double check the town.
Yeah.
I believe the intersection is 25.
Right.
But I can't see it continuing all the way down the road, seeing it's 40 feet wide.
Yeah,
And
I mean, we're in the process, at town meeting, we just in fall, passed something that allowed us to reevaluate the speeds around town. And speeding is definitely a problem. Again, I'm taking, think all your thunder, but it was like 160 stops last month for speeding where you wrote
Yeah.
a bunch of tickets on it.
Yeah.
And so there are officers who definitely stop people for speeding.
Yeah, and you know, of course, Lancaster
Yeah.
Road is one of our biggest, Lancaster, and
Yeah.
now that South Street Bridge is closed, we concentrate more on other roads.
Yep,
South Street was our number one
Yeah.
spot.
yeah. Pleasant Street sees a
Yeah,
lot of
like
activity.
Lancaster Road's our number one spot right now.
Yep.
So you had mentioned people's petition or something. How can we go about fixing the situation? That's what I'm interested in, resolving the issue. So I don't have, because I don't have peaceful enjoyment of my property. And how do we fix this?
I am at somewhat of a loss that people following the law, it is hard to stop them from doing that.
Mhm.
That again, U-turns are legal on streets. They're,
I mean, I know that the owner, you made signs, you know, trying to reach out to the patrons
Mhm.
as
I saw
well
the sign.
to, you know, be a little bit more neighborly when it comes to that, but I'm thinking that probably fell on deaf ears if
Yeah.
it's still happening by the time you put the sign up and you being here. Yeah, I'm at a loss as to what to do because I want to help you, but yet,
Thank you.
you know, our hands are tied with, I can park on the side of the street and I can pull a UE.
Yeah,
in
well,
the street.
Since beginning of winter, I put the no parking signs across the street and it was great. Might have had one or two all winter,
Yeah.
but then once they tore these signs down, I've been getting them nonstop. The other night, I
Well,
think I had
but
5, 6 of them
we-
right in front of my house.
but again,
and my
this,
driveway.
we can't put up
legally
signs
put up
like that because it
signs.
is legal to park there.
Yeah.
As town property, it is legal to park there.
Yeah, but meanwhile, we keep getting the lights in our window.
Yeah, so I'm just
Yeah.
looking.
I mean,
for-
if it was your house, would you like it?
I have lights in my window all the time because I live 5 feet from the edge of a road. So I know
Yeah.
both sounds and lights
Yeah.
in
And-
the houses and accidents as the curve around my property when people take it too fast and hit things. Luckily, the nature of the curve means they hit the other side of the road, not mine, but
Yeah, and I think there's a misconception that we can kind of do whatever we want up here and we just.
I understand
Yeah.
you
We
have to
just
abide
can't.
by
It's-
local, state, federal.
I
laws,
thought
yeah.
at one point there was an offer to buy blackout shades for the living room so that when they're down, those lights
I've
don't.
never heard that, and I really don't want blackout shades.
At night.
Yeah, I mean, we are.
That's
Sorry,
fine.
cable will come over and yell.
Uh,
Yell at us all the
break.
time.
We,
You're gonna break your stuff.
yeah, yeah.
No, I quite frankly, I mean, our dog looks
Yeah.
out the window. I mean, that's where he sits and.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody's ever, first
yeah.
off, offered me blackout shades.
I can tell you, I personally love them
Oh.
because I'm on Derby, which is also a
Yeah.
speedway. And you put them up and you
Now,
don't.
once they
see
mark the
anything.
easement, if the cars park over the easement on my property,
Mhm.
am I allowed to have them towed out of there?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Unfortunately, that's it. You can't make
Yeah.
that call. That becomes.
I know,
If
no,
someone
like
parks
I
on
said,
my
if
private
they mark
property-
their orange line and the car's one wheel foot over the line, can I call the police and have it towed?
Or
Well, I
that's
mean,
your
you can
answer.
call us, but we'll go to the restaurant and find the owners before we incur $150 cost for 12 inches.
Right, but you've helped mark the line, so it's clear when someone is potentially on your property versus on the public
Yeah,
right of way.
we just use marker paint. I'm
Yep.
sure those lines are
Yeah,
long gone.
Yeah, they're
Buried.
probably, well, they're buried at this point
Yeah.
then, and you probably
Yeah.
did your best attempt, but there's a good chance they might be 6
Yeah.
inches one
Yeah,
way
I
or
don't
the
think
other, 'cause
anybody's
they're not
parked on
that
that
was not
side
done
of
by a
the road.
professional surveyor, I don't believe,
Yeah.
but
And for everybody's safety, we want to make sure that it's the police doing any sort of enforcement because we don't want you to be in an unsafe
Yeah,
situation.
And
um,
at some point, I would like if they could come over where they mark the easeway on my side of the road, if they could mark my driveway.
mark where the easement is on
Right
your
in my
driveway.
driveway, I would
Yeah.
like a mark.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, because people are hopefully not parking in your driveway anymore, but
We try to keep them out.
Yeah. I think people who've parked too far over, well, I don't want to speak for others, but I mean, there is an intent when someone does park too far over, if there are license plate numbers that between the police and the restaurant, they likely would try to help find whose
Mhm.
car it is and.
Oh, and I
get-
understand that. I mean. I
Obviously, when
wouldn't
people are
wanna-
doing those 3-point turns and turning around, they've already left the restaurant, and so.
That's
They and the,
exactly
poli-
it.
and by the, again, even if the police could get there in 2 minutes.
gone.
They're gonna be gone by then. Um,
And is it possible, I mean, so, because sometimes people park along the guardrail that's over North Brook.
mhm.
And they park against the guardrail. They're
Mhm.
halfway in the road. I mean, it becomes a one-lane road.
At what point is a car parked too far in the road that it's a problem that you can,
When it makes it impassable for
Right.
emergency vehicles.
right? So if there's one on each side, it's down to 1 lane, it's inconvenient for people, but it's not blocking emergency access. Um, Yeah, I mean,
And I'm just at a loss. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm tired of it. It's been
Yeah.
going on for about a year.
Yeah.
And on the way home, as soon as I get to Ben's Gulf, I start getting anxious about what's the storm gonna be tonight.
yeah.
And so anyway, any guidance, any suggestions?
Again, if you're willing to take it up, I'm sure we can figure out to get blackout shades so that when people are turning around at night, you don't seem interested in that piece of it. I think the town has helped to put boulders to help people stay off your yard, because people can
Mhm.
definitely stay off your yard. I think the cones help keeping people out of the driveway. I think no parking signs are clearly on and the no U-turns in your driveway are clearly.
Mhm.
I have a spot of my property that people like parking on and then walking onto my property and doing other things, that I have put up some stuff to stop them during those periods of time. And so again, even though I'm not offering you a lot of things now, I definitely have some sympathies for what's going on.
And you had mentioned citizens petition or something to change, and I don't know.
I
Ju-
still don't that,
So citizens are allowed to put things on annual town meeting warrants.
Mhm.
It takes, I think, the same numbers of signatures that it takes for to get a ballot. So I thought it was like, it's 100? Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that would put it on and we can double check that number to be sure. And it would put an item on the town meeting warrant that gets discussed and voted on in the town. And so that you could potentially do that to add some town
Mhm.
parking, and I bet there'd be some people in town who think the town should have some more parking authorities. I also think there'd be people in town who
Some
don't
people,
want
yeah.
parking.
I'm for less government, but.
yeah, but it
Uh,
also, those things would also have to be legal things. I
Right.
mean, you
Mhm.
can't just, and depending on what that road is,
Well,
Yeah.
right, and so the bylaw would be potentially adding something to town bylaws, and I don't know how the wording would have to work, but to give us the authority to put parking regulations in place.
Mhm.
And sadly, the timing is probably working against you because
Yeah,
we're
I'm
closing.
not pursuing this immediately.
right.
Look at how long
But-
it took
right.
me to write a
Well,
letter.
right, and the town meeting warrant closes in 2 weeks
Right.
for May town meeting, but we likely have a fall town meeting.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of staffing to help with the wording of it. Most citizen petitions, we typically don't get involved in.
Mhm.
Right,
We
right.
can't write it or have
Because-
people do it.
Right, because we can't, because it becomes us either supporting it or opposing it. And so if the citizen initiative, we're supposed to stay independent until the town meeting where you get to have your say at it.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's a found town meeting that potentially could add some parking regulations in town. It would have to have a process, and then we'd have to see, even if with that there, whether or not the process
Mhm.
agrees with putting parking restrictions there or not.
What
Okay.
departments would she need to speak with?
We can't assist with a citizen's petition.
I'm
Sure.
just asking a question, what
Right.
departments? I mean, whether she goes or not, that's her call, but with
Right.
mine,
Right.
I needed to go to planning.
Oh, right,
which
right.
boards would need,
Which boards?
Would have to
Yes,
sign off.
So is it planning? Is it ZBA? Is it highway? Is it police? Is it public safety? Is it?
that
all
was
of
a
the above?
zoning bylaw change, so that's the only thing that goes to planning.
Okay.
Right.
Because it's they're in
Yeah.
charge of zoning.
When
so-
we had when we had the petitions related to marijuana regulations in
Yeah.
town, those didn't go in front of anybody before it went to town meeting.
And the parking regulations are yours right now, or
Right.
they are yours. So it really is taking that next step to go to town meeting. They would file it with the town clerk. She would certify the signatures and it automatically goes on the
Yeah.
warrant.
And that if they had enough, do we get a chance to sort of, I'd hate to have someone like go to the trouble of getting signatures and then discovering that like it's not worded quite right.
They'd have to
Um,
seek independent counsel for
Okay.
that.
I have to say, from my perspective.
Right.
Sending people to do citizens petitions for parking regulations
Right.
is a bad idea. It is
Right.
a fundamentally bad idea. There is a reason that we do those things
Right.
within town government.
Right.
Because they are complicated, because they can have unintended consequences,
Yep.
because they need legal review. I think that's not a good, it's not a good path. I know that, we're trying to give you something, but I think it's a terrible idea.
Okay. Point taken. But I'm just at a level of frustration and I just don't know how to proceed.
Yeah.
And I was hoping to get some help with maybe, and I had thought of, is there other places he could the owner could rent to park, like the real estate company is not open at night.
Right, but then you're walking.
Yeah, and you're
Well,
walking at 60.
there were
40
people
miles.
parking down there. I thought of that. They
Yeah.
were parking down at the real estate company and walking on 62 one night on my way home. And then, I thought that's not a good idea, but there was no snow then, so they were
Right.
really,
Well, it is also, even if that's an option, people will take the closest parking spot
yes. they do.
to them. And I think the one thing the restaurant has the most control over is where employees park. And I think they've already done that. So employee parking is not taking up any of the spots in the restaurant, which is at least reducing, by 3 or 4 the number of cars they're parking up there at any one point in time. Probably in an average evening, it's probably, especially a busy evening, but it could even be a dozen cars that are not up there now because they've moved the employees. Because, throughout the course of several seatings in an evening, and again, people always want to park closer. And so if they can park in the parking lot of the restaurant, they're going there first before they're driving up your road looking for it. And as I say, I tend to get there at points where I can always get the railroad spot directly across and not park up by you. Which saves that I also then don't typically go up there to do a 3-point turn because I can pull out of that and go back down 62. It doesn't give you a lot of comfort. There's definitely sympathy for it. You're not the only place in town where successful businesses sometimes impact the people nearby unintentionally. We want to make sure we still have successful businesses because they add to the tax base. You probably aren't doing it now, but a place you could potentially walk to for dinner is a really neat thing to have. I don't know of a other solution we can send you off with, which is
Right
unfortunate.
down the street from the restaurant, there's a couple cones on the side of the road. Them are 2 feet off the road. Why can't they move them back and allow 4 or 5 more cars parked there?
Where is that?
Be across from the Spinnings. That's when we had the railroad police out. They measured out with the tape measure and that's where they.
Where their line is in easement?
It's further up and it actually drops down. Yeah.
And there are other spaces available, but the railroad company has left all their equipment there.
Yeah.
But
That's
they
the
own
property then.
they own the
Right,
property,
but
right?
we at the very least could send an email to we have contacts to the railroad, we have contacts, and we've had to sometimes for railroad related issues, we have sometimes had to go to our members of Congress to get any sort of action out of them, I believe a couple of times, but we can try to do that at least. I know you have limited time at the moment, but I'm hoping and if you can't do that, I think between the 3 of us, we could craft an email from the select board that says, please try to move your stuff. I encourage, I think that's something we can encourage you because your email to, our contact the railroads is more with contracting as opposed to form. I just want to make sure we're giving, if we have an appropriate email address for the railroads, I have no problem trying to give that up. It has to be sort of one that would respond to citizen issues. But your member of Congress, you could ask her for both contacts and help move that, because if we can free up a parking space or two, it's a parking space or two.
I would talk to Concom because they're in touch with them with all the issues that were going
Yeah,
on with
right.
the Brooks. So they probably have the best contact.
I actually have a government liaison that we got during the train
Good,
crashes.
yeah.
It's not a public giving out information.
Right.
But I did receive it from the
Okay.
Congressperson's office, and also they won't give those out.
Right,
So I can certainly craft an email and
Yeah.
reach out and see. I have a feeling if it's private property that their
I know,
plane is
yeah.
parked on, they're not gonna want to move it and allow
we,
parking.
we
Yeah.
can try, because I think some of their piles of things is, even if it's on their property, are unsightly, and I know we don't have
They
bylaws
are.
against unsightly stuff, but we can always ask, and we tend not to ask our member of Congress for a ton of things, and so maybe she's willing to do us a little bit of a favor there.
And can I also ask about the trash? Because trash, it has the address of West Street Tavern on it, laying down next to North Brook. There's a pay stub from an employee blown onto our front lawn. I mean,
Yeah.
food boxes, yeah, and so maybe
The
they could,
boxes he gets his cooking oil in,
Right,
and it's a cardboard box with a plastic jug inside. There's a railroad sign sit inside the road. That jug is directly under that. I called the Comcom. They went in the river, pulled trash with his address on it out of the water. And after the big snowstorm we got, somebody's food container with the food in the snowbank with a Pepsi bottle and a bag of empty Doritos.
the restaurant will have little control over what people do with their leftovers, and the building, I think you can ask, but
You want me
like,
to switch seats with Matt, and let Matt come up and talk?
yeah, if you have, you things you want to say, but I think at least, I know Wind takes trash, because I get things from my neighbors on my
Mhm.
property here.
well, the
too, but stuff
dumpster
we're trying to
hasn't been
control.
closed.
Right,
It's not closed a lot of the
Yep.
time tightly.
Yep,
Hi, guys.
go, hi,
Matt Rossadini.
Yep.
Berlin resident, restaurant owner.
Mhm.
We don't sell bottles of soda
Right.
or potato chips, so,
Right.
that wasn't from our place. And our employees park across the street down
Yeah.
at the liquor store, so.
right,
Voodoo, I don't
Right.
know. My employees and myself, we walk a lot.
Mhm.
Things do come out
Mhm.
of the dumpster. Sometimes the dumpster, big gusts of wind come. I actually found a piece of cardboard behind the building today.
Mhm.
So yes, that does happen. But I feel like we're pretty
Mhm.
focused on making sure that we minimize any issues.
Yep.
When we first opened, I talked to all the neighbors. Roger.
Yeah.
Talked to Roger. And he was concerned about cars parking. He was talking about going to Sterling to go buy cones. So I gave him $100 to buy cones. When he brought up the issue with U-turns, I drove right to Lowe's that day, made a sign. It's a big sign. And I put it out that day. The next day, he lined the opposite side of the road and his with no parking, no U-turns. He continually approached my customers whenever people tried to park on the opposite side of the road and tried to get them to leave. So if somebody was upset that he did that, we're trying to be good neighbors, but somebody who stands outside of their house in the dark for 3 hours a night, approaching every car, is not normal. It's trying to tell somebody not to park in a spot that they're allowed to. It's not normal. And this is affecting my business. every time a car drives away,
Mhm.
they might not come back. That's costing.
Right.
Me money, my employees.
Right.
Tax
Mhm.
base and everything. So. You know, the trash we can pick up.
Mhm.
Cars can park over there. We encourage people not to pull U-turns.
Mhm.
I can't stop them. This seems to really only happen between 5 and 8 p.m. I don't see cars parked up there late.
Hmm.
It's more about dinner. So we're approaching people, families
Mhm.
at dinner time, looking to have dinner.
I think if it really is the 5 to 8 hour, I think that definitely helps us potentially direct police to just drive by a little bit more often. That's not a forever solution. Even at our place, they did it for a while and things calm down and, it stays lower for a bit and then bubbles up. And when it bubbles up, you try it another time. I think if the trash is sometimes finding its way even as far down to the river, if you just expanded your sort of every now and then
Absolutely.
walk down.
It's the
to
first
pick up
time I
stuff.
heard
Yep,
of it.
yep. I think if it can be done sort of carefully and politely, I think if you see things in the river that you think belong to their place, making a request like, hey, I saw a box of cooking oil down there or ran to the place. Again, I think if the requests are made sort of politely and clearly, you go and take care of those sort of things. Again, I am really appreciative of the business down there. You're right. Even when you're open and have music until 10 or so at night, the people leaving at 10 or 11 you're not so packed that it's all the way up that road.
And it's
Uh,
not during the day that
right,
we have an issue.
right.
I mean.
Which also
so-
means it's likely a seasonal problem because in the summer where the sun doesn't go down till 8 or 9 o'clock at night, that this problem is, so it's also getting less of a problem every day as the days get
Mhm.
longer.
Mhm.
And so I think we can try some of that as well.
Okay.
And again, I appreciate, I appreciate some of the stuff you've done. I appreciate that you have, sometimes I know that some things have not always gone the way people have wanted and hoping that we can figure out ways to keep things sort of more neighborly, to keep things sort of going off. Because again, scaring away customers, you also don't want an empty place next to your property because that will cause way more problems than having a nice, successful business there. And the restaurant business is not one that is rolling over in huge jobs. So every person who runs away and doesn't come back is a problem for some of those businesses. Because it's not only that customer that doesn't potentially come back, but it's their friends. Because oh my goodness, I went to this place and I had a bad experience. And I can tell you, I tell my friends when I have a bad experience at a restaurant, and so we want to make sure that stays successful both for him and the employees and the tax base. Because when it's that empty, we didn't get much for that, and there is meals tax on top of it that helps us. And
And I can appreciate
Yep.
your wanting the tax base,
Yep.
and I
Good.
don't wish
Right.
him any ill will. And I wish him
Yep.
success with his restaurant. It's just that it's impeding
Yep.
us, and and Roger's gone politely and said, "Hey, park there, but please don't make a U-turn in front of our house."
right.
Yeah,
And
Once,
some
yeah.
people
Yeah.
abide by it, some people don't.
yeah. But once again, that is legal.
Mhm.
So we
Right.
can't have that happening. We can't have citizens enforcing things
Non-existing
that
rule.
aren't even laws. We can't have citizens enforcing laws, let alone things that don't exist. It's not safe for you. It's not safe for anybody.
Mhm.
And we want you to, and your folks to be safe, Matt. I don't want
Right.
Felicia knee deep in the river,
Right,
pulling out a box.
right.
So there's a safety factor
Yeah.
for you folks too, especially where it's slickery
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It's just gonna take and down you go.
Yeah.
So, I have concerns about.
And we all deal with trash. We all are wildly frustrated with trash.
And your house contributes to the tax base as well, and we don't want that to be empty
Yeah.
property as well.
Right.
That is important to say. It might be as far as we can go
I
tonight.
think it
Yeah,
is.
don't
I
think
mean,
there's- Yeah.
Well, and again, to ask Eric if Nikki, you're saying it's, or Matt, you were saying it's between 5 and 8, you know, you're not hitting a shift change, so. Maybe a car, I don't know. Maybe a
Mhm.
car, maybe it does nothing, but it's an attempt to try and do something.
Right, and it doesn't have to be daily, but every now and then, they've clearly offered their driveway as a place to park a cruiser every now and then, and again, you might catch speeders as much as you catch
Maybe.
people doing
Uis.
other things.
Bad Uis,
Well, UVs are legal, so.
bad Uis in my
Yeah,
lawn.
bad UVs in my head.
There you go.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
So I think we're done for this item for tonight, but keep us posted. I'll try to put on our agenda like 3 or 4 months out, a reminder to come back, check in on this.
Okay.
Okay.
That might be great. I
Appreciate it.
appreciate
Thank
you listening and thank you for your
Yep.
time.
Thank you, and thank you. As I previously pointed out that the general store item is being passed over, so we'll do department updates if I've not stole all of Eric's thunder by pointing out stats in his report. For the three of you coming up, just do the January report. I know you weren't here for the December report because of things going on. We have seen them and can ask comments from them, but when you're presenting, just present the current months. That was a nice compromise between the meeting and
Mhm.
getting stuff to the public. Why don't you start?
All right, month of January, 12 shifts went unfilled, primarily day shifts. All midnights and evenings were pretty much filled for the entire month. Month of December, I'm sorry, should have said January. The month of January, the department handled 1,185 calls for service, including 10 cases involving criminal charges, 24 motor vehicle crashes, 4 reported to have injuries involved, 153 motor vehicle stops with 66 citations issued. We did have a high amount of accidents, but I looked, a lot of those could have been classified as what we call DMVs, disabled motor vehicles, cars that just couldn't make the road and slid off a little bit, got documented as accidents. So unfortunately, that's why the number was high on that. Because if you see 4 reported have injuries, it was a pretty low month for personal injury accidents. On January 29th, Officer Chappelle graduated from the police academy. He is started this past week with Officer Belleville, and this week he is with Officer Lima. He'll do about 400 hours of field training before we allow him to go on his own, and he'll be assigned to the midnight shifts. Joni was deployed twice in the month of January. Berlin Fire assisted Lancaster with attempting to locate a person in a motor vehicle accident that was not on scene. And Officer Belleville responded to Sturbridge to assist for a suspect that assaulted an officer and fled on foot. Not typical, we'd go to Sturbridge.
Right.
However, for some reason, we're the only drone unit out of the 26 that were available that night, so we did go. But that's not typically in our geographical area.
Right.
To
Do we
respond.
get reimbursed for the miles overtime?
No overtime. No,
Right.
it's usually people that are on patrol.
Okay.
So people on patrol, and vice versa. We can call these people
Yeah.
to come to our town. So, we did post our current open position. We received 11 applicants. Sergeant Andre has scheduled a physical fitness test for these applicants in February, which is coming up in the next week and a half. We'll start the interview process. Out of the 11, I believe we had 8 respond to the physical training test. So hopefully we'll have a good pool of candidates, very diverse pool of candidates. And of course, we had the major snowstorm that we encountered. Went very smoothly. Out of our 24 motor vehicle accidents, that was probably 12 cars that just slid off the road. But for the police side, very calm, no winds. So yeah, we made out like a bandit through that storm on the police side.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, that's about it.
Questions for him?
Mhm.
I don't think we have questions at the moment. I think we're going to keep you at that because I think we'll do something really quick about the maintenance stuff, but after your reports, I think we're going to do police and fire budgets, just since you're already here, not make you wait until we get the budgets, the G of item 6, so. So Fred, did the snowstorm go well? I thought I saw a Facebook post of a frowny face of a broken plow during the storm.
Yeah, so we had so the loader plow came apart twice. We fixed it in the street the first time. Get about a mile down the road, it came apart again. So at that point, we just put it, kind of stuffed it back in the frame, chained it up. Actually came here and had breakfast and then went back and repaired it. But yeah, so that was the biggest breakdown we had throughout the storm. As light and fluffy as it was just a pain. You know, but we dealt with it. It was a good time. We were due for it.
Yeah.
You know, and we may as well have another one. Why not?
Listen, snow miser,
No more.
no more,
Yeah.
no more.
We're gonna pass a motion, no more snowstorms until this is melted, then we can do a small one in
This
March.
is where Fred's at his best in the snowstorms.
Oh, I would rather take the snow than this cold. This
Yeah.
cold is just
Agreed.
kicking
Yes.
butt.
If I never see another frozen bucket, I will.
Yeah, frost heaves are starting to come out. That
Yeah.
smooth road you used to ride on is no longer smooth. Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. So we actually had a slow month because of the storms we had. We just had some regular routine maintenance on the equipment. We're trying to keep up with the potholes. And then the guys, they spent a couple days doing hazard trees. We're hoping to get back into that. We're just fighting with a lot of ice dams right now, which is taking time away. We still have one employee that's on intermittent FMLA. We had one go out injured on duty. Good news on the South Street Bridge, the Chapter 85 review was approved. Now we're just working on getting easements for moving the telephone poles. Originally, they were going to be temporary poles that we were going to have to pay for the set, which we didn't understand why, but now they're going to be, hopefully they're going to be a permanent pole, free of charge. Sink a pole either way.
Right.
So that's where we're at right now. And then they're gonna try to redo the timeline that they originally had because they won't start work in the winter.
Right.
And nothing really to report on the buildings. So far, we haven't had any major issues heat wise. Yeah. So yeah, things have been okay other than the ice dams we
Right.
seem to be having. I don't know if we'll get ahead of them. This coming week, I think we're gonna be above freezing,
Mhm.
which isn't gonna be good for us. I'd rather have it stay below freezing until it's ready to unthaw and be done.
I'm hoping sunny and above freezing takes care of a bunch of that type of stuff, because the roofs will warm up pretty fast once the sun gets to it.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have pole hearings if they're moving a pole?
They're actually gonna be installing 2 new ones,
Right,
right on the bridge easement.
right. And so when they
That's
install
different.
poles, we tend to have pole hearings. I wonder if there's any way we could try to get ahead of that.
That is a
I
tough
know,
process.
I know.
And it requires coordination of Charter, Verizon and National Grid usually, and they don't
Well,
move fast.
Right, but we have to have a hearing to allow the pole to exist.
Right, which we can't have until they send us the design.
Yeah,
Which
they
is fine.
normally come, I think, don't
Yeah.
they?
Right, yeah, but isn't it? I think I know what a telephone pole looks like. I could draw something and I know they did something. more. And that if someone sees potholes they want to comment on, it's just highway@townofberlin.com.
Yeah, or they could actually call the highway garage.
Yep.
And report it.
Yep.
Because if they hit a hole and it goes unreported, they
Yeah.
get tire damage things.
Right.
We have 24 hours to fix the hole once
Right.
it's reported.
Right.
But we'll have a crew out tomorrow starting right now.
Any takers on your facilities position?
No, so the one and only candidate that really kept reappearing here, showing his interest again and again, Dee had reached out to and he never got back to us.
Is it worth it to repost it or is it still out there?
Well,
Make it hybrid.
yeah, so we're in negotiations for the union. The idea is to now try to split that position. So it's like 2 days down here, 3 days with highway. Just so we can, get another guy with us. But I guess now all that has to go through union.
Yeah, we can't add new positions right now. Everything freezes once negotiations open.
Yeah. But we did the job descriptions done.
Right,
We are
right.
bringing it
And-
into
and-
negotiations.
Right,
so-
negotiations are moving forward, and so hopefully it won't delay it too long. Other questions? Great. See, we're questioned out already.
All
Go
right.
for it. Chief.
A quick shout out to Fred and his crew. We were probably one of the major recipients of the ice dams just because the apparatus bays were pretty socked in, preventing some of our doors from opening, and they probably spent 2+ days there breaking up ice. So thank you for that. For the month of January, we're a little slow for our normal response. I have 59 responses that I put on there. Unfortunately, I don't have the breakdown for you. One of the things, the federal government changed our reporting software that we have. So our records management system, although it's tracking our calls and stuff, isn't able to give me a breakdown right now of the calls that we've done and stuff for the typical breakdown that I would give you. But I'll be working on that as we move forward for both fire responses and the fire protection side as well. Personnel administration side of the house, firefighter Howard Priest finished his probationary period on January 1st, so he's a full-fledged member of the department. So we have nobody on probation right now, so that's good. Recruitment, we're still moving forward on our full-time position, and the first round of interviews were conducted on February 5th. I'll be moving on this week with some additional interviews, and then we're looking at the call department. We're trying to get some candidates scheduled for next month to do some interviews there to try to bring the and bolster the call department. Professional development, the plans for the advanced EMT class have been set. We're currently coordinating with A&D Quality EMS Training out of Leominster. The classes will start in March, and they're going to run through probably the beginning of June is when we think they're going to end. Following that, there'll be about 80 hours for each student. That'll be their clinical time that they'll spend in the hospital with some ride sites. And my hope is that when that's completed, I'm shooting for an August timeframe of hopefully they'll be testing and then hopefully certified by September. And from that side of it, ALS will be able to start at the AEMT level. So that'll be a good thing. Just finishing out FY25, or excuse me, calendar year 2025, we had 919 emergency calls for the year, and that was about a 7% increase over the year before for us. The responses that we did have in January made consistent with the high intensity calls. We had a building fire, several serious motor vehicle accidents requiring life flight, and some very high acuity medical responses that were severe ALS calls that took a lot of personnel to the hospital. So the staff did a tremendous job with those calls. They were kind of quick, and they came one on top of the other. Apparatus maintenance, we're using Bay State Fire apparatus, and they've done NFPA inspections on all of our fleet, which is good. It's prioritizing a whole bunch of stuff and work that needs to get done on the truck that we've been kind of neglecting over the years. Luckily, none of it is really critical at this point, so I'm establishing basically a priority list to go into next fiscal year to continue to try to catch up on some of this stuff. The brake issue that we caught was part of this that I think you guys have seen that we'll probably talk about in a little bit. But getting ahead of that and just keeping the fleet on the road is good. We had the staff cars where all the service was completed on those. We had new tires and front end alignments done on those and got those up. With the ambulance 2, which is the 2017, had its routine maintenance done. And that was kind of a big deal just because of our other ambulance being out of service. The loaner ambulance we did receive from Greenwood, it's in service, and that ran as a primary unit, which is a very solid truck. It's very good for us, and we were able to return Boylston's. And again, I thank Chief Flanagan in the town of Boylston. They did receive your letter, so they were appreciative of that. I noticed I noted the extreme ice dams that we recently had, and again, just a shout out to everybody that kind of helped with that from my staff and Fred's staff. The training and updates, we did EMS training on January 12th, which was a review of pediatric seizures. We did combined ice water rescue training with Hudson Fire up at Gates Pond over a couple-day period throughout the month of January. And just a health alert that I noted for everybody with the flu activity currently being high. We're using masks. So if you see us and they're on the truck with the masks, that's the reason why. The only other thing I want to note, community information, we have the open burning season right now for the public, January 15th through May 1st. We have it on our website where people can sign up for that, and they'll get notifications if the burning is closed. I don't anticipate any problems in the next month or two, but as we get in April and May, we can see that. The only other thing of note is with K9 FIA, she's completed all of her AKCA classes, the level 3 class for community K9 she's completed, and we're kind of moving on from there. We'll look at some additional ones in the future for therapy dogs, but she's out in the public and things are going well. So that's my report.
Get any idea when we're gonna get our ambulance back?
Yes, actually, I just got that update at the end of last week. We're looking at the chassis has come in for that, and they're anticipating the arrival for that at the factory in April. Or I say it's come in, it's been identified, it should be there by April. And right now they're saying June, we should have that truck back. It's gonna move right to the front of the line when that chassis arrives, and we should have it hopefully in June, knock on wood. That's what they're telling me.
And we're gonna get a super tight warranty on that thing.
Yeah, that basically is gonna be a brand new warranty when the truck comes in.
Were you, was your team involved last night with the issue with Marlboro Hospital getting?
Yes,
their
as a matter
polio dying?
Yep, we were actually over covering for Marlboro Fire, assisting them. Obviously they transported about 90 patients. It took about 5 hours. As a matter of fact, Lieutenant Cummings from my fire department spent the night over in Marlboro doing that. So just as a notification for everybody else, right now Marlboro Hospital is closed indefinite period of time, which is actually straining the system right now as we have ambulances kind of running all over the place. I've put some extra staff on. One of the things, not only do we have an increase in transport times because we're going to hospitals further away, we're doing what we're calling holding the wall, just because they're inundated now with the patients that normally would be at Marlboro Hospital. So there's a longer wait time to get a bed. And obviously, if you come in with a fractured ankle, but there's 5 people with chest pain, they're going to get priority over getting a bed. So we're kind of upstaffing as that goes on, and my hope is that it'll be a relatively quick fix for Marlboro Hospital, but I'm not. They don't have a time frame for us at this point, is when they think they're going to be operational.
Thanks, Fred. Helping out, appreciate that.
What do we do?
A number of open shifts in January. I didn't see that in the report.
Oh, I think I left that out. Actually, it was a reduced number. Our numbers are down. I think, if I remember correctly, we had, I want to say 12 open shifts for January. And with our latest hire stuff coming online, I think we're looking at even less for the month of February.
And then some of your staff, like you included, are ALS trained, correct?
Correct. Yes.
But if there's a incident that requires ALS, you're not allowed to do it?
Correct. We are licensed at the BLS level.
Right.
Which means although we can perform those functions, we're not allowed to until we go to a full ALS department. And part of that is going to be we'll be able to do it at the AEMT level. It's this, and the certification or the approval from OEMS, whether it's at the advanced EMT level or if we choose to go to the paramedic level, we have to basically adopt the program where we demonstrate how we're going to be able to provide that 24 hours a day. There's a lead up to that where we can do, I think if we want to do over 3 years, we can do the first year, you have to do it like 8 hours out of each day. The second year, it's 16 hours out of the day. And then that third year, you have to go to 24 hours. And there also has to be a component that there is some type of a mentorship that occurs for the staff so that you don't have just brand new ALS providers. So in this case, those of us that are ALS providers and have been for a period of time will be the mentors to those that are getting their advanced EMT, and we'll be able to establish that and help with them. Part of the program that we have with AD quality EMS instructors at Leominster, we have a year program with them for a QA/QI program to review the calls, kind of make sure that the service that's being provided meets the standard. And I think that's going to assist with OEMS approving us to go to that level. So we've started the application process, if you will, by getting the information that we need, making sure we're going to have the equipment. The training is going to be complete, and we have that program kind of established. But we won't be able to actually start providing ALS until we can show that level to OEMS, and they actually give us the license to operate at that level.
And that we got over to the representatives, our rep and state senator, sort of examples of like where we had trained staff who could have done things but had to sit and watch. Because so when we met with the state rep and senator last meeting, it feels like months ago, but we brought that up as a frustration.
Yep.
And obviously, even if there was a legislative solution to it, that's not a fast thing. We will likely be ALS certified long before any rule comes in place, but Berlin can't be the only place. So they have someone on staff who has some ALS training who is forced to watch someone in need of services, and they're not allowed to do them.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're alone in that. And I can certainly provide examples of that and stuff and some documentation. Obviously, there's a lot of redaction that comes with that.
Yeah, right.
But
You don't want, we don't
Yep.
care the specific person's name, and
Correct.
you could even take out the date and time.
Yep.
There's a person who presented with X, so we could have done Y.
Yep. Yeah, no, I will present that and have some documentation for you to
Yeah.
provide to them. And I'll get that post haste to the town administrator.
Yeah, because even if it didn't come in time for us, maybe it would come in time for somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because minutes save lives. We all
They
know
do.
that's why we have these services here.
Yep.
Other questions for them? I think, are we gonna do Fred's budget too, or is he allowed to step out while we do everything else?
He wants to go.
You had specific questions on police and fire
Yeah, I did.
budgets,
Yep,
so I
yep.
did not invite highway, so I don't want to put. you
Yeah,
on the
so,
spot.
so you're
No,
allowed
I left you out. I'm
you can
terrible.
hang out there if you
Sorry,
want.
I think he needs to go home and go
Yeah,
to
he's
bed.
Yes, yeah.
free.
Yes,
Is
yeah.
what I think, yeah.
So we're gonna go on to presentations D, the request to use the maintenance article funding to replace fire engine one brakes.
So I will turn this over to Chief momentarily, but I just wanted to give you a brief synopsis of where we are at with that $50,000 maintenance or repair article. We have to date, and if we include this appropriation, which would be $4,267.72, we would still have $19,521.41 left in the article. I intend to recommend we replenish that funding at May town meeting, but we will have used a little more than half, and we are more than halfway through the fiscal year.
So those brakes were discovered during that NFPA inspection. They pulled the wheels off and actually pulled the drums and everything off to take a look to make sure everything is operating at a safe operational level. In that time, they found some pretty significant cracks in the pads that go to the brakes on engine one. I'm not sure if those got submitted or not. I may not have actually sent those ones along. But I do have that for documentation just to show the cracks, and that's when we made that a priority to get that one fixed. The total for that came to just over $4,000. They went through, there was a lot of documentation on what they did for work and stuff to take that off, get into it. They found some additional problems that we're going to tackle further down the road with the hubs where they got overheated because of those cracked brakes. The mechanic kind of looked at it and stuff and said, it's not something you're going to have to do now, but he said it's probably something we should do because he said that metal's actually going to be worn down and it's weakened now. So he's getting me a cost to look at taking those hubs off, kind of having them cut and professionally put back on. And then we'd probably replace the drums at that point, but that'll be a further fix that's coming down the road. So that was one of those unanticipated one during that NFPA safety inspection that we kind of came across. That was a critical one to get done on the truck. I kind of took it out of service until we could get that done and get it squared away.
Questions from either of you?
No,
It's pretty
I mean,
well detailed.
we need to fix things when they're broken.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, and I think it's great while we do the inspections to catch it before the truck
gets
doesn't
really
stop
bad,
while
yeah.
driving somewhere, so.
Yep.
And it becomes a bigger expense and maybe some injuries, so.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve using the warrant article to do the repairs?
So moved.
And seconded.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Great. Kristen, you want to direct us on where we're going for budgets?
So I don't know if you want to start with police or fire.
Pick one.
Let's start with fire. I know you had some questions about ALS, and also the chief and I went back over the numbers. And it looks like we do need to add a bit more in there for part-time.
Call staff.
Thank you, part-time and call staff. But because of the level of ambulance receipts that are coming in, we can offset that by increasing the ambulance receipts that we use in the budget. So there won't be a taxpayer impact to that increase. So I know one of the things we talked about was ALS, and the chief did prepare 2 budgets. We have committed now to the AEMT program following town meeting, which is that intermediary step between ALS and BLS. I also think I mentioned when we talked about supplemental funding requests that the third or next step in the process would be to train in-house full-time staff for paramedics, and that's $72,000 one-time cost. We did just get free cash finally certified. It's a little over 2.8 million. I would recommend this would be an opportune time to use some of that funding to get folks trained in preparation for moving to ALS, but I know we've only had some preliminary limited discussions about ALS. So that's why I asked if the chief would be here as well to answer any questions that have come up as you've looked at the budget or as that we've had conversations about the next steps.
The budget in front of us has some increases. Is we expecting this is the first of several steps towards ALS, or after this, are we going to see something that's closer to just sort of the cost of inflation?
After this, you'll see the cost for kind of going to the paramedic level. The cost that you have in front of you is for the AEMT program. So if that's where we stop, then that's as far as we want this. You'll see the inflation occur after this. In that budget, we have some, basically the training went up. The ALS component of this, because we're going to have to maintain those skills as we go forward. That's something that I factored in for having our educator kind of come in and work with us on the ALS, on the AEMT program of that, or, just going over the IVs, the cardiac monitoring, that type of thing. There's also an increase for the billing and the financial services of that, where we've had about a 10% increase in the call volume. I kind of put that 10% increase for that. I think there were some increased costs for the uniforms.
She has an opinion on.
Yes.
She feels very strongly about this.
She hears you talking.
Yeah.
We'll let her come up.
Come on,
Mhm.
come up to the mic.
No, she's gonna say hi to Eric first. Yeah, and that's where the increases are in that budget program. I think I also increased there was an increase for training for one other person to go to the AEMT course next year during that fiscal year, if one of my staff chooses to do that, or one of the new hires needs to get to that level. And that was kind of the increase for the for my budget that I currently have. The $30,000 for the call department, one of the things we've looked at is having the parity between full-time and call. Right now, the full-timers coming back by their contract, they get a 3-hour minimum when they come back. I only pay the call firefighters 2 hours for each call they come back on as the minimum. Otherwise, they all get paid. If the call's only 5 hours, they all get paid for the 5 hours. But trying to incentivize the staff to come back for the calls, obviously, I don't think I have a major problem right now with people not showing up because they're not getting paid the same, but I'm trying to keep that parity there. There is a separation right now in what the call department gets what the call department gets paid for doing their job, and what the full-time gets paid for doing theirs. And that's kind of getting a bit bigger, which is, again, it kind of de-incentivizes them from getting out of bed at night if they're like, well, you know what, the full-time make more than we do, so we're not going to get up for this. So that's kind of the reason and the rationale behind that.
Either of you have questions? I think it's the first time all three of us have been here, so we've talked about ALS.
That was part of the issue as well.
We've had individual conversations with different groups of two. I think if the 72,000 for the one-time training becomes a warrant article, I think that is beneficial, because I don't like putting one-time things in the operation budget, because again, it sometimes has a habit of just not coming back out. And to me, it qualifies as one of those. It doesn't go to capital because it's not a capital thing, and so we'll probably sponsor a warrant article for that. I'm trying not to be the never spend a penny person, and so I think I'll be okay with the recommended town administrator budget. The two of you have questions or comments? We could.
There are more specific, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think this makes sense on a lot of levels. First of all, as we provide better safety and service to
Yep.
the people who live here. Secondly, we are currently paying through the nose for somebody else to do what we could be doing in-house.
Well, for me, the added cost also is one of the reasons went from an all-call department to a staff department is that response times go down. This is not necessarily response time, but the quality of the person who shows up when they respond is going to be better.
Right.
And in cardiac issues and other things like that, that minute or two can be the difference between someone recovering well and someone not recovering well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to your point, we just had a cardiac arrest save on Friday that took place. That was a call that initially the call came in, ALS was not started for it, but we responded. We were there within minutes, and the patient went in cardiac arrest, and we were able, by the time ALS did arrive, we had the patient back with a pulse. And I bring that up because your point for ALS, the sooner we can have ALS there, the better the outcome is going to be. We have a significant delay with ALS just because of the call volume and the lack of paramedics that we have in the region. And that's a problem across the United States. It's not just here. So by us kind of establishing our own and getting that there quicker, does give a better chance for survival for those that do unfortunately suffer a critical injury or a critical medical event.
And I think it is safe to say that the number of calls that you folks respond to, the number of that are medical versus the number that are actual fires, that medicals far exceed the number of actual fires. we have.
Yes. I'm probably gonna guess it's about a 60% EMS versus 30%,
Yep.
excuse me, 40%.
Yep.
Somewhere in that neighborhood between 60 and 70% are medical.
My ask of you, Fire Mike, is that I guarantee you, someone will look at this budget and go, oh my God, an 11.8% for fire and 20.7, look, here they go again, bright and shiny, get what they want. Can you just write up a brief summary so that at town meeting, when someone does stand up, instead of calling you up from the back, we can say 1,
Absolutely.
2, 3, 4. Because
Absolutely.
unfortunately, people, I think, just look at the increases when we're
Yep.
trying to keep them flat, and when they see
Right.
fire EMS, police.
Yeah.
It's ballistic.
And one of the things I'm trying to do is to keep this in line with our ambulance receipts so that we're kind of paying for this program out of that account so that it is not as, as much of an impact to the taxpayer. And that's why it's a staggered program, and also looking at, kind of what we're going to get for revenue on the ALS side of things. Trying to factor that in, and there's a kind of a show of what the calls will be and how much we'll bring in. So again, it's trying to offset that to show that it can get offset by the revenue that we're going to bring in.
But even if you go backwards for a year and say,
Yeah.
we had 20 ALS calls and, we lost XX revenue. Not that we want ALS calls in Berlin, but now we're going to be able to respond. So money that we paid out is now money coming in.
Correct. Yep, I'll type that all up for you, so you'll have it.
Yeah, and I think the timing of that is for Maytown meeting, so
Yes.
we don't need it by next
Okay.
meeting at all. The fire union contract is just starting negotiations. They won't be signed until after the budget is finalized. Do we have like a minor cost of living in this budget, or is there nothing in this budget and everything's gonna come from the HR line if we need some?
You did the cost of living at the 3%, chief, I believe, and the step.
Yes,
And
Okay.
so we have that in there.
Okay.
And then also we have set aside some funds for negotiations in general.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
we
The
can
HR
add from
line that
there.
is, we'll have several negotiations going on in the coming year, and so we
Thank
want
you.
some, okay. I am fine with I'll make it, I will move that we approve what is lines 44 through 46, which is fire EMS salary, wages, full-time and part-time, and expenses as per the TA recommended budget, and that we encourage FinCom to approve them as well.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Very good. Thank you.
I think someone wants to go home.
Yes, yes.
Kinda look at the back of the
The
room.
eyes in the back, like, okay, it is time to go now, right? Yes. Police budgets then. You're not going to ALS because that's a fire,
No.
but talk a little bit about your increases and staffing levels and.
So we've never hit number 11 yet, since it's been budgeted for. We came close. We're currently at 10. But we do have a retirement coming up in September. We are in the hiring process right now. So I'd like to actually hire 2. The academy doesn't start until June, the local academy. I can't foresee sending people to Plymouth, Randolph, Linfield, the Marlboro Academy say they'll start up in June, but so my police budget came, I think the full-time salaries was actually right around 2.1% increase versus 2.5%. We did save on some of the salaries. We went to more straight line shifts where people were working split shifts before. So it ended up taking out shift differential. And then one hire without a degree dropped the budget down as well. So, yeah, I mean, all in all, I think, everything I put in was contracted.
Mhm.
You know, I did put in 2 supplemental requests. I put a supplemental request in for a lieutenant and for a 12th officer. My priority is the lieutenant. We're probably, I talked to, one of my fellow chiefs. He did a study, last year. In Worcester County, out of 62 communities, 55 had lieutenants. I put this off for several years, but with accreditation on our doorstep, I think this is the utmost important time to have somebody to assist me. Our call volume increased 13% last year from the year before, and I don't see it going down. You know, if anything, it's gonna stay the same, if not go up even more. You know, the sergeants are supposed to be patrol supervisors, not in the station helping me with administrative work. But if you take my job from 4 years ago to today, it's completely different. You know, there's a lot more things added on, a lot more responsibilities. Between the oversight of the training, the state regulations, federal regulations, our schedule, overtime, our internal affairs. You know, everything is just taking a lot of time. And having a lieutenant outside the union would be extremely beneficial for me, not only for me, but for the town, for the officers, seeing a line of progression. You know, I think it'll help with retention, streamline, you know, chain of command, be more structured. You know, I'm probably paying more than that in overtime to my sergeants to make sure work gets done right now.
Um, do you have questions?
Yeah, I guess, Eric, I struggle. I don't understand how adding a lieutenant is going to give more of a structure to the chain of command when you have 3 sergeants.
Correct.
And I also don't understand by, you know, accreditation has been around since we hired you, so it's not anything new, and it may have gotten busier, but I cannot stand here or sit here actually and truly say that I support a lieutenant position just because of increased administrative duties. Are you saying that a lieutenant is not going to be on the road and patrolling, that they're going to be in the office doing paperwork?
That's what the sergeants are doing right now.
They're not on the road.
Probably half their shift.
If we had a lieutenant, could we go to 2 sergeants?
Yes. That's my plan. My plan is to go to lieutenant and 2 sergeants.
But a lieutenant so a lieutenant is going to be a paper pusher, basically.
Outside the union and, yes. Yep. And also like me, you know, last month, you know, 7 unfilled day shifts, I was out of the office, not getting my work done.
And there's no other way to help with the administrative duties except for spending this amount of money to promote someone to a lieutenant.
Well, I mean, remember, I probably paid 25 to 28,000 last year in overtime to have these duties done, and I'm asking for 16 to take somebody out and say, this is your job. You know.
Do you have questions, Lisa?
Yeah, I'm just, I always, for this type of thing, I like to see data. I like to see numbers, and I'm not sure I have them. I'm not sure.
What kind of data?
Well,
are you
I mean,
talking about?
you're talking about things like, you know, the trade-offs between having the overtime and having people out on the road and all of those things, and you're sort of doing them off the cuff.
Yeah.
What I would like to see, if you want to have this sort of discussion, would be a summary of sort of outlining all of the compelling reasons that you have for this, rather than trying to narrate them on the fly in the board
what you
meeting.
have to understand is accreditation, whether you're a town of 3,500 or a city of 350,000, is the same paperwork.
Mhm.
We have towns around us that have a full-time lieutenant and a part-time sergeant working on the same paperwork. It is incredible. You know, I don't like, to sit here and have to come up with all these facts and figures, over the last 3.5 years, I probably turned back 10 to 12 weeks of vacation time because I cannot leave here. Because I have deadlines to get done. You know, I'm 55 out of the 62 communities have lieutenants. I mean, that right there, I mean, the one chief that doesn't have a lieutenant has 2 full-time admins. I have a part-time admin that's split between myself and the fire chief. You know, I do 40 to 60-hour work weeks on a low week, keeping up with all this paperwork. The state has mandated that all training falls on my shoulders, not individual officers. In the fire service, your EMT is on you, not on the fire chief. Our certification, everything is on me, 100%.
So why
Yeah.
can't you take a sergeant and make that their main, if you plan on having a lieutenant and reducing our sergeants from 3 to 2, why can't you just take a sergeant now and say, Sergeant Scott, here is your responsibility. I'm struggling with promoting someone to a lieutenant position who's going to sit in the office doing paperwork.
They're gonna do the same thing I do, paperwork and assist on calls.
But why
Is
can't
it
you take
a-
a sergeant and just say?
Is it a
I think
union
that's-
issue? Is it a?
I see a
is it
benefit of
working
having
out of-
someone else in the department that is sort of a second command that is outside the unit.
When I go
Well,
on
I'm just- yeah, I'm
vacation and I
asking, is
have
it
somebody in charge of the
that part of
department,
it?
I'd like it to be somebody outside of the union.
Right.
I'd like to be able to discuss things with a lieutenant that's not gonna violate union contracts.
I
You
mean, I
know,
think
I
that-
don't want them to have the union hat on. I want them to have the
Right.
administration hat on.
I mean, I could see where there could be a conflict of interest of a second in command being inside the union because they have sort of 2 legitimate and appropriate sort of masters that could put them in conflict.
Yeah. Now, remember, we're a town of 3,500
Right.
and the Neshoba district out of 7 towns, soon to be 8. Well, I'm gonna call us the 3rd busiest because Hudson just came on. And we are half the size of other departments.
Right.
And our call volume exceeds other departments of 14, 15, 16 officers with a whole full command staff.
I mean, we've heard that from Chris, and that is quite consistent with the data that we get when we talk
Yeah.
about the Neshoba.
Yeah, the
Dispatch
split
is
is
that
that if
they
we
talk
paid
how to do the job,
paid
right.
for calls, our assessment would be
Above
extremely-
average.
Yeah, we're
extremely
above
higher.
average. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll see in the budget, I do recommend the lieutenant. At this time, I did not recommend the 12th officer.
I can
Well-
forgo a year, well,
Sure.
let's see how the numbers go. I hope we don't see another 13% increase. That's a lot. For a police department to have a 13% increase, over the course of a year.
See, for me, I wouldn't put the 12th officer in the budget. I would have him higher to the 12th officer because as you point out, you have authority for 11
Yeah.
and we've not been at 11
No,
ever. And so I think if we try to aim for 12, that might get him at 11 on a pretty regular basis. And I think at the select board, if for some reason you manage to hire the 12th while you have 12, we'll deal with a little bit of a budget stuff because I will guarantee you within 6 months, someone is going to take a job somewhere else or someone's going to retire and we'll be back down to 11.
yeah.
And he won't be then short-staffed for
Yeah, I
8
mean,
to 10
we-
months.
we
to
have,
take
we
from
have
the day you
3,
say someone's missing to the day you
Yeah.
have someone.
we
actually
have
on
3
staff.
retirements coming up in the next 2.5
Right.
years. So, by the time we get up to 11, which would be at best be a year from today or
Right.
14 months, or another, maybe another 2 months from now. By the time we actually got up to 11, we need to prepare for even more.
Right.
We're gonna have a couple more retirements to follow. So,
And so I think I would still budget for 11, but be quite clear to the chief that he should hire to 12.
Yeah.
And we will deal with the problem of having 12 if that ever happens.
The one question I would have is there an issue with the union contract with sending someone to training but not being able to guarantee them a position?
that's the issue of being able to send them to the academy. They have to be guaranteed a position in order to send them to the academy.
I would guarantee them a position. We'd have to figure out what the hours are. There could be some
Yeah.
weirdness to that I think we could administratively figure out. Because I don't think you would ever get to 12, just like we've never gotten to 11.
Yeah.
And we've had the money for 11.
Yeah, I mean, every time we've reached that number.
Right.
We either had a transfer or a retirement.
Right, within
So,
months.
yeah.
And then you're down to 10 again for 10 to 12 months.
Yeah, as long as we stay steady at 9, we can be fully operational, but once we go below 9, that's when it costs us
Yeah.
money.
From the gut, obviously for the lieutenant position, I am more in favor than opposed. It's not a hill I'm dying on today, but is there sort of more information that would help? Because we also don't have to vote today. I think most of us make sure we had the discussion while you were here.
Yeah.
And it could be that if there's more information that helps you make a decision or you make a decision, to, be sort of find a way to make it clear what that type of information is and see if you can help provide that.
Yeah, I mean, I get accreditation has been around for years, but not like this. It was, thrown in my lap when I first started. And once we got into the weeds of things, it's pretty incredible. I mean, we have managed to go from 50 policy and procedures up to 141 over the last year, which is remarkable, especially where everything has to pass through the union. Updates, like I just logged on, last Friday I logged on, I had 7 updates for that week. Fortunately, we're working with they call it Power DMS. It's an app where everything gets pushed in and updated, and we have it set up for email alerts. But it is a nonstop revolving door with accreditation. It's not, you get there and you're done. It's a nonstop weekly, bi-weekly, monthly updates, meetings, seminars. And, I'd hate to get to certification and then after I retire, they come in and we lose it because it wasn't kept up with.
I think I am certainly probably fine with the lieutenant position. I think it would be easier for me in the future if I have a narrative to look at before I come in here so that I can research better and I can understand better. I'm not telling you to do that now, but
Yeah.
from a perspective, if you're going to come in front of the board, I think it's easier if you provide.
Yeah, I thought I pretty much provided that in my request form.
And how opposed are you?
I still struggle with it because Eric, you talked about, you're putting a path together, but if I'm a patrolman and then I want to go up and then I want to go up to a lieutenant, do I really want to be a paper pusher? Do I really want to be increased administrative staff duties if I've
Well,
spent?
Is
all
it
this-
officially the chief of
My job is to
paper
create
pusher?
future leaders. And if I cannot create that, your next hire is gonna be probably 40,000 a year more than what you pay me for somebody to come in here. So my job is to create that, say, it's okay. I'm not a huge fan, like, believe me, I hear calls come in and I want to leave my desk, but I can't. I'm true and true a road person. This work has to be done and, as long as you have a path and you don't overload people and burden people, like I have sergeants telling me, I no more.
Right.
Like I haven't even made out the road in 3 days. Constant meetings, Zooms, our training, we just finished our first responder training, which you don't think is a big deal with 15 people, but when the state mandates that you make all those 15 people do it in appropriate time, it does get stressful. And we have firearms coming up again. In services full on right now, constantly checking ACADIS to make sure everybody's keeping up with their in service, which is a platform that we can watch people. Then, I have to go in individually each one and then motivate them, say, hey, get a little more done. Let's keep going.
Just for the sake of argument to help out, if instead, since it's mostly administrative stuff, we took the admin position that's part-time and made it full-time, does that get to your need at a lesser or same cost?
Yeah, but that's going to be bringing somebody else in the office with Abby,
Right,
because right now between Mike and I mean, she's pretty much
right.
at her limits, between the two of us. I'm
not sold that's the right option. I just wanted to get it.
Yeah, I think it's a more
Make sure
expensive object.
In the long run, okay.
Because we're already paying benefits to this one person.
Yep.
And it would be a, 24-hour
Right.
week job, so it'd be benefited. So I'd anticipate it would be at least 20, bring a part-time admin, it'd be
Right.
28,000.
Right, then you start adding benefits. I think.
My understanding is this is the typical model
Yeah.
that you would be
Yeah.
following.
I didn't think it
right?
was a good
It's-
idea, because
yeah.
I think it was a good idea you would put that together in the first place, but
Yeah.
I want to
mean,
let people
yeah.
know that we at least consider
Yeah.
that as another.
Yeah, I mean, it is part of our plan in the future, in the next, I think, Mike, was it 3 years out, 2 years out?
2 years out.
2 years out, you know, when they do go to ALS, they're gonna need, they can't rely on a paid volunteer to come in to get paperwork done.
Yeah.
So I know it is a couple of years out. But yeah,
And so, Kristen, in the TA recommended budget,
Mhm.
it's really only an increase in the full and part-time wages of 3.3%. You actually included the 16,000 for this. So we don't have to change that number if we wanted to do the lieutenant or wanted to support the lieutenant piece.
I added the lieutenant
yeah,
into my
yeah,
recommendation,
yeah.
yes.
You know, and it's not something that I'm thrilled at. It's not something that I can wholeheartedly support, but I'm not gonna be the cog that stops
Yeah.
this, so.
no, I mean, I definitely appreciate that. I know, and I've held this off. I should have been talking about this 3 years ago.
Right.
But I'm not a car salesman.
Right.
Like, when I need it, I ask, you
Well,
know.
and I think the reason why we
Yeah.
picked this night to talk about those particular issues is so that we can have these conversations now and not have you sort of surprised at the end of the
Yeah.
budget process when we somehow get to this the last week of March. And so,
Yeah, I mean, as far as the bell curve, we are the last 2%.
yeah.
And we're not even close to the front, you know, we're the
Yeah.
last 2%. Like I said, I can only think of one other community in our area that does not have a lieutenant. And that's because they have two full-time admins.
So I would like to make the motion that we approve the TA recommended budget for lines 41 to 43, which is police salary, police wages, full and part-time, and expenses, along with the approval to try to hire to 12 officers, even if the budget's at 11, because if we actually get to 12, we will find a way to pay for it until we're back down to 11.
Yeah, because this particular hire
Right.
from the past, I'm not saying it's gonna happen now. You know, we had 11 applicants,
Right.
which we used to have 100.
Right.
Now we had 11, 8 responded, and typically 50% don't pass the
Right.
physical test. So then we're down to.
Right, I don't think you have to find both of them out of this
No.
particular pool, but I think if you did find two you like, I want to not
Yeah,
scare that potential people away, because again, it's 10 months by the time you say yes before they're on the road doing anything, and who knows what's gonna happen to you.
yeah, I mean, if you gave me approval today,
Right.
they wouldn't even enter or be on the payroll until June, whatever.
Right.
Not July 1st.
Right,
So it's not, unfortunately, it's not a quick moving
Yep.
thing for us.
are you okay with that piece of it?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm there yet on the 12,
Yeah.
but
Well, I bet
particularly since the
budget-
TA recommendation came in at. So
I'm
I'm
not
not-
increasing the budget. If you don't want it on that, we'll
I
just
mean,
do
that's
the TA
something
recommendation.
I also think we could probably discuss if or when we ever get to 11, which it sounds like we never really have, but.
Right, but I don't think we ever get to 11 until we try to hire to 12. Because he can't start advertising that position until someone leaves, and it's a year from the time someone leaves before they get in. So even if today we said 12, I bet it is a decade before we get to 12 unless we increase it to 13.
Peg?
Oh,
You know, I think, you know, the town administrator will speak, you know, I don't spend money if I don't have to. You know, obviously, if I get the authorization, I'm not running out tomorrow to do it. What I would look at is, okay, they gave me up to 12. Probably I'll probably want to hire 2 out of this, even though there's one position open, only because we have a retirement in September. By the time they get out of the academy, it'll be October. By the time you get field training, it'll be January, you know, for this time next year. So I'll still have a gap. But that's maybe when I start looking at, maybe I'll put somebody in the academy next January, a year from now, start them in the academy. It's not something I'm gonna jump on today, tomorrow. You know, it's a goal I'd strive for to get to next January. Which I have no issue coming back and asking for more money back to, you know, when that time comes. But as of right now, you know, I'm focused on hopefully getting 2 in the next academy, so we can get up to the number 11.
I understand what you're saying, that we always seem to be running behind. You know, with this, and actually, I'm more in favor of going after the 12th officer than I am for the lieutenant.
So,
I haven't been here to watch this, so this is why I wanted to hear
Yeah.
from both of you.
I mean, again, when were you last at 11 officers?
Never,
Right. And when
never,
you- when you
never. We
only had
hit 10,
authorization
we
for
hit
10,
10,
yeah,
went
right.
back to 9, got one of the
Right.
academy, went
Yeah.
up to 10. I'm trying to go for 11, but I have a
Right.
retirement coming up, so I'm gonna be back to 10. That's why the next class I'd like to get 2 in. If we have to send the
Right.
academy, I'd like to get 2 in. So when they get out, we'll be up to 11. But then that
Right.
following March, I can have another retirement, 14 months from now, I can have another retirement. And then I'm back down
See,
to,
this is where I think, going back to Lisa's point about seeing it on paper,
Yeah.
because as you're talking, I'm trying to like write it down in my head
Yeah.
and picture it, and if it was there, that this was your plan of
yeah.
we are at. This position is retiring, which is going to cause me to do this. which is
Well,
going
they
to-
can potentially retire. This is
Right.
this is the issues
Well,
I
and
have.
so how about this? The amount I'm talking about to authorize me to go to 12 is not a budget number. We
Yeah.
can make that motion separate from budget.
I was
numbers.
gonna ask you to do the
Yep.
motion separately, just
Yep.
because I don't think this
I
belongs
would rather come
bundled
back
with the,
before you,
Yep.
before I go to 12.
Yep.
Versus like
Yeah.
saying, yeah, just go to
And-
12.
So let's.
and I'm actually
Yeah.
at the point where I'm happy to vote for both. It's
Right.
just,
Yeah.
I do think they
So
should be separate things.
let's do the motion, then just a motion to approve the TA recommendation for those police line items. That includes adding lieutenant or for upgrading a sergeant to a lieutenant.
Second,
Bless you,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
half-heartedly, aye.
Okay. You have to
Says
figure out
that,
how the- right.
put that in the motion,
Put-
yes.
put it in there. Yep.
half-hearted,
Um,
yes.
Do we want to put the authorization to try to seek to 12 with the idea that that just keeps you at 11 because there's not a budget number associated with it?
You know,
Do you wanna
let me,
hold on that?
let me get through
Okay.
this hiring process now.
Okay,
And let me see what we get for
know
candidates.
that if you put together that sort of chart that
Yeah.
Ben talked
Mhm.
about how.
Yeah, and I'll put
Sort of
together the
hiring for
chart
12 so you
of
can
our
really have 11.
potential
Yep.
retirements coming up, because it costs us a lot of money. Like,
Right.
Right now, we have 2 out.
Right.
I'm only filling 4 of the 8 shifts in overtime.
Right.
So our overtime is half of what we should be putting out, and we're putting out thousands a week. Far more than if I
Right.
was authorized last year to have 12 and I
Yep.
had 11 today, the union's been very gracious with just making
Yeah.
sure we're running double shifts.
Yep.
And not, because like I said, we have authorization up to 11. We got 1 in field training. Once they get out, well, in 11 weeks, we should have, no hopefully open overtime.
Okay,
So,
good. Well, thank you then. I think that's our motion for at least that part of it. We'll go back to budget at 6G when we get to that part of the evening. Thank you.
thank you.
I am not seeing anyone in the audience who is dying to come up for public comment, and it does not look like anyone online has raised their hands. We're going to go on to the next item, but if for some reason someone online decides they have a public comment to make, I'll recognize them after we do the town administrator report, which is next on the agenda.
Okay. So I have started the project list that is in your file. I added a few items to it since I put it in your file for tonight. So we're up to 47 projects right now, and many of them are multifaceted, like the policies have multiple policies under them, budget modifications, things of that nature. And so there's a pretty detailed list going at this time. I did set forth it. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, don't feel the need to read all 46.
Oh, I am not.
Okay.
No, I was just gonna say, I set forth priority projects that I had let the select board know were the projects that needed immediate work on prior to my departure. That would be the 27 budget, as you've seen. I have made my recommendations. There are a couple of highlighted lines that are still being worked on, but there's just a few. And so the select board can now begin taking the votes on the individual line items as you just did. FinCom will still be finishing up their meetings through March, and Berlin-Boylston, for anyone who's interested, will present their budget next Wednesday, February 18th. And Assabet will present their updated budget on February 25th. I don't expect much to change with Assabet because, as we know, that's a per pupil basis, but I do expect to see some movement on the Berlin-Boylston budget. And the select board and FinCom are slated to meet jointly on March 2nd at 6:30 to discuss the budget and town meeting warrant articles, where we're at since the warrant does close on the 23rd. Speaking of the warrant, I do have the first draft underway. The public safety renovation project is going along quite well. We do have a deadline on the fire pole. We received a $50,000 earmark for the fire pole from Representative Kilcoyne's office. And that has an expenditure deadline of June 30th. So we did have the plans prepared by the architect. They were just reviewed and signed off on by the building inspector. So we are moving forward with that. Upcoming items that need to be addressed are cameras and fobs, sprinkler and fire alarm. And those are the big ones. Eventually we'll be looking at walls, but both both electrical and plumbing are ready for their rough inspections, or will be within the next couple of weeks. And they are going to run a sleeve through the wall. So that way, if we need to add cabling for cameras or additional items like the fire alarms and sprinklers, that will be there. So they're making great progress upstairs. Once they get their rough inspections done, we can start putting in walls. So we're really making great progress with that project. Couple cleanup items. We do need to close out our hazard mitigation plan grant, and we need to complete the ARPA rail trail earmark by the end of this calendar year. So I know that Robin Berry of Conservation's been working with VHB on that preliminary design for Berlin's portion of the rail trail. And I need to confirm with her what the plan is for expending the balance of that $100,000 earmark that we got from the state. As you know, highway union negotiations and fire negotiations will be starting soon. Highway is underway. We did get a contact reach out from USDA about the radio upgrade project, and I've confirmed with the chiefs that they're finalizing the quotes. And I have town council drafting the license with the Homewood Suites in order to create that third tower site on the south side of town by installing an antenna on their roof. We do have 4 final open projects on ARPA, which are the playground, Complete Streets Engineering, which is in process, fully appropriated, underway to be spent as soon as design is complete. So I anticipate you'll see that by the end of the fiscal year. The demo of the old fire and rescue building and the Bullard House 1870 improvements. We're also moving forward with the conservation restriction transfer so we can purchase River Run. That has been drafted by legal counsel and sent over by the conservation agent to Sudbury Valley trustees for review. Also, we are trying to figure out the exact financial mechanism to take on the $550,000 that is supposed to come at closing that the Sennies would like to give us now, and I would love to have now. So we are working on how we have to do that, if it has to stay in an interest-bearing account or an escrow account until the close on the property, because that's what it's tied to within the development agreement. Complete Streets, we're still moving along. They're working on final design. We did a title search for 19 Carter because we are going to need an easement there. So those conversations will need to be discussed. And I just said preliminary design is complete. And then we do have interviews this week for the building commissioner position. That closed on January 30th. We had 3 applications, 2 which were viable and qualified. So should the screening committee recommend a candidate, we'll put them on the next board agenda for discussion if you'd like to go that route, or the regional inspectional services route with Sterling Boylston and West Boylston that we've also been discussing. So moving on parallel paths with that as the board requested me to do. As Fred mentioned, we finally have the Chapter 85 approval from DOT for the South Street Bridge. We've also submitted, with the help of VHB, all of the paperwork required for the grant contracts. Once those are signed, we can get the bid replacement out to work. We are also waiting on a contract amendment from VHB to help with the bid process. And we are going to need to put our paving IFB back out because that has to be done every 3 years and it expires in March of 26. So I know in speaking with Fred today, he is going to try to actually get some work done before the contract expires at the end of March, some small items. And we have a really good template that we built 3 years ago that we can basically just put back out to bid. But in order to continue with paving, that's going to have to go back out. And then I did receive the final approved scope for the playground from the Recreation Committee. And with, it does have to be incorporated into an IFB, written using that scope that Recreation has approved and put out to bid. Last but not least, we had a conversation with Charter actually today about trying to get the cable contract moving because the draft was given to them last July and they've been pushing us back because there are other towns whose agreements expire before us. And I've stressed the importance of trying to get this wrapped up before I head out. We expect to have at least some preliminary movement on a counter proposal by the end of this week.
Questions with you, because I looked at sort of items sort of 16 through 44, and I would love at some point to just be clear. I think some of them just are going to wait until we have the next full-time town administrator.
Absolutely.
That like, you should not spend any more time on it. We shouldn't expect an interim town administrator to work on it, that they're just, it's great to have the list. But with limited time and resources, again, I want to be clear, things that are not going to get done.
And I think that's a really important distinction. I'm creating a comprehensive list. Obviously, I have the first items that are a priority given deadlines, but I also want to make sure that the universe of what has accumulated over the past 3.5 years is out there for the next town administrator.
And so is it going to be okay if I suggest things that are going to wait until the next full-time town administrator is hired? Because I think the classification and compensation plan, which is a great thing, just has to wait. I think if we had full-time staffing over here, it would continue on. But on the list of things that need to get done, that's gonna influence the fiscal year 28 budget, and we'll get the next town administrator to work on it. I think the PFAS lawsuit stuff, has any well in town found PFAS?
So this is just for public water supplies, which would be
Right.
here and at the library.
Right.
We can't participate in this lawsuit unless we've done testing. And
But
so
can we participate in the lawsuit if we've not been harmed? I do not
it
know the well.
depends on
in
what
town,
the level of PFAS is, and we've never done that testing. So
But other wells in town have been done. We had a company come in and do a bunch of private wells, and there's other public supplies in town that have done it.
okay.
And I don't think anybody has found any PFAS.
I don't have that data to know for sure. That's really a decision. If the board doesn't want to move forward with that, that was the lawsuit that Margaret had entered into, but we did not ever do the testing. So we would have to sign an agreement to exit the lawsuit if we wanted to do that.
And if we do nothing, what happens?
They just keep harassing us for testing like they have been for the last 3 years.
Good. Tell them we're
Um,
hiring a new town administrator. When a new town administrator is hired, we'll get back to them.
I'm just wondering, isn't Fred in charge of the testing? Isn't that a conversation to have with Fred?
Yes, it is. And he's reached out to Whitewater to get pricing on that.
Okay, so Fred's doing that. The town administrator isn't doing that.
Good. And Fred has tons of extra time.
Okay, I'm just saying, if you're trying to limit what the town administrator is doing, that's not a Fred
And
job.
when he
it's
has a
or-
quote, who's gonna actually sign the contracts and put together the RFPs?
So the testing shouldn't be over 10. So we could likely move forward without that extensively in terms of procurement. But I saw that as the next town administrator, just to be clear.
Which is fine. Yeah, I'm also wondering if the interim is gonna need to be part of the prioritization conversation here as to what he reasonably feels that he can get done in this
Right,
timeframe.
I'm assuming the
which
list of
things are-
44 is gonna be too much, and so I think even if we
agreed.
gave the interim a list of 20, that's probably too
Okay.
much. And so I'm trying to get us from a list of 46 to a list of significantly less than 46. I don't have a magic number in mind.
I did do a break in these and it may
Right.
not have come out clearly.
No, I saw the break. You
okay.
you have a break at 16. That's why I've started below that.
I
Good.
predicted only the first section would be worked on by the interim.
Okay.
I also think then only the first section is being worked on you, so you're stopping work on everything below 16.
I am not doing anything below 15.
See,
So
and I have,
we already did that then, right?
We talked about that at the
Yeah,
last meeting.
I thought so, but I was expecting a interim town secretary report that had the 16 items and bullet points what you've done. All the way through 44 has things that you're done and things you looks like you're still going to be doing. You know, emailed Fred on 1/29/26. That's after the point where we said try to keep it to the top list.
See, and I have a problem with fire station rescue building demo being on the next list. That can has been kicked down the road
Right.
for how many years? Last May, we got money from the
Right.
town to do it, and now we're gonna sit on it and wait. We
Right.
pushed the departments to get their
Yep.
crap out of there. And so we have two ugly buildings waiting to come down that unfortunately, where it's now on the second, I'll call them on the second page.
Good.
That it's gonna continue to wait.
It is one of my top priority projects, and I so agree that it's on the second page. We have only so much
I know.
staff time to do it, and so some things, even things we like, and they go on, the Bullard House is on this, and that's one of my
I
pet
know.
projects, and I agree the bullet pride of the list of projects, that belongs in the second list as much as that's one of my pet and favorite projects, and I think we should be doing a lot more for it. Because I think if there's anything on the second page that we want to put to the first page, we have to find things on the first page to put
Yeah, we
onto
have
the
to come
second page.
And I would think that
And I think that means we're gonna give back some ARPA money, that we're not gonna spend all of our ARPA money.
Well, one of the questions I had is, did we do anything? I believe there's a lost revenue piece of ARPA. Did we do anything with the lost?
even
that
with
we-
revenue, we're all
we took
revenue
that all?
loss. The whole thing is revenue loss, but you still had to appropriate it to projects by the end of December.
I
And
thought there
last
was
year
a
expended by the end of this.
percentage that could just be lost revenue, no? Okay,
No, they changed the rules when Trump came into office.
okay, charming, thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I have to admit, I'm very concerned with putting something like the playground. I know we had a deadline of 2/9 and they came through with it, but I'm very concerned at this point that we don't have time for an interim to step in and do a playground. So if there are things, but I don't want to lose the funds. I don't think losing the funds is reasonable either. So if there are quick hit things, that is a discussion we should be having. If there are things that can be done with that money, whether it's expanding on some of the other projects that are already underway that have to be addressed anyways. I think, Dee, did you have an idea? You told me
Yeah,
earlier.
Chris and I had talked about looking at the scope of work for the demolition of the buildings to see if there could be any site work incorporated into that or extracted from that so that we could at least put some money towards that from any leftover ARPA funds before we let it go back.
Yeah, so I think that's a discussion that probably has to be had, whether we can have quick hits for that. I don't want to give up entirely on $180,000 though.
I don't know where we have the staffing to do it. I mean,
Like I said, I think for me, if the new interim comes in and says we can't, then we can't. But we haven't had that conversation yet.
right, but the South Street Common is still on the list, the playground is still on the list of things that are going to get worked on.
Yeah, I'm
Well, we're
just
gonna lose
saying,
money for it.
that's why I'm saying is I think if there is an easy way to repurpose that rather than take on that whole project, then we need to look at it.
Well, but I think some of the other ARPA projects aren't gonna go forward either, and so, I mean, because it's the firehouse building.
That should be able to be done by the end of the calendar year. And at least the drainage portion of Bullard,
Right,
the testing should be coming back any day now and they can move forward with the drainage solution. So, and then the engineering is the only other one, and that one's completely underway and will be done by the end of the year. So that's why playground is up there, because it is a deadline specific item.
And we don't want to throw away work that we've already done just because,
but Bullard House and the fire building are not on the list of things to get done. You say they were further along, and so why were they removed and that one's still on the list? Because the Bullard House
That one's
is
the
on
farthest
page
behind.
2, and the fire station is also on page 2.
So I would say that the playground is there because it's $180,000 and it's the least far along of those projects.
Right, but so you'll make the playground happen, but sacrifice the other two.
No, those would get taken on. What you can't, I would imagine the second list, some of those items, the interim would be able to look at and decide what could be moved on. I can certainly move those 2 remaining ARPA projects up into the first part. I hadn't prioritized everything. This was just a draft.
And so you're thinking that of the 16 things that are on the sort of first page,
Yep.
several of them will be completed before you're done?
budget is done, the draft warrant will be done. And a lot of the HMPG and ARPA part will be done.
The building commissioner?
That should be done, provided the board is willing. We're doing interviews on.
You'll get progress on South Street. If you could get South Street Bridge in 3 weeks, we would like find magic
That's
money
not,
out there.
we're waiting for the state
I
to
know.
countersign the contracts. These are all underway, they're ongoing, like the
Okay.
entire projects won't be wrapped up by the time I head out or necessarily by the time the interim heads out, but those are the ones that are the most deadline specific and currently underway.
I think it's a select board, when we get an interim in, we will have to have small, handfuls of projects, because it's also just keeping the office going and getting us through town meeting. And so most of this list of 44, like 30 of this list of 44 are things that won't happen until we have a full-time town administrator. And we're gonna have to be okay with that, because there's not the staffing to do it. I want us to live in a real universe that we can't have someone come in and do 50 items in 3 months.
What else were you thinking of things that need to wait? Is it everything on the second page?
Well, I think until we get a full-time town administrator, I think really all the bylaw and policy stuff is much.
Oh,
we will
God, yeah.
Get that done, just don't get touched. Which are several items. I actually think that sort of the last item, which is sort of contracts that come up annually that will have to be done potentially by the interim, but I also don't think renewing some of those contracts are gonna be a huge lift. And I think that's why all of them, although it's a list, is a relatively a single sort of item.
What about the fire bay door replacement? I mean, how critical is that, Fire Mike, to get done? See, you should have left. You had your opportunity. Thea was whining. You should have gone.
I had my opportunity, I didn't take it. I think the fire bay doors, we're kind of halfway through the winter here at this point, and I think that's where we're losing a majority of our heat. That's where a lot of the issues are coming up. I think structurally they're good, they can operate, so it's like if we get those done, then great, but I guess if they had to wait, unfortunately, we may end up having to replace one of the doors if it does fail, just because they don't have the replacement parts for it anymore. It's not something that they have in stock. So that's the risk we kind of take with it.
If you would like for the next meeting, I can certainly make a recommendation on prioritization. This was really just to get you started on having an idea of the universe of what's out there.
And so if you're gonna do this, or any other feedback of ones that you think wait? And I think the plan of use of opioid funds has to wait. It's not a giant dollar amount. It will still be there. There might be an missed opportunity, and I think it's also open if someone came to us with something we thought really worked and was a collaborative thing with other towns, we might. The ones that have come to us to date really were collaborative, but didn't look like they do a lot for the town of Berlin, and so I don't know how much we want to help other towns cover their budget shortfalls.
And I just wished we had moved on many of these earlier so that we're not stuck. I mean,
Right.
But
especially the
we-
building
we
commissioner
can't-
retirement. I mean, he gave us 4 months notice and it's now mid-February
Okay.
and we're just talking about it.
No, I don't think we're just talking. I think a ton has happened on it. We
Yeah.
agreed to go down 2 paths. We've explored both paths. One of us turned out not to work great. The doing it collaboratively with other towns because that opportunity wasn't there. We have applicants
Is
she's
it?
interviewing.
What?
I
I
think a ton of things.
recommended regional a year
Right.
ago,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
board did not want to
Yeah.
make a decision, so
Right.
I have pursued parallel paths.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
And-
there-
And one of the one, non-regionalization unfortunately is the one that's winning out, but that you have applicants. I think that one is like 3/4 of the way down the path.
We also didn't get a resignation letter until about a month and a half ago.
Right.
Okay,
Right. Which
so
limited.
can I just get a status on the regionalization? Just where that
It's
is?
there if we want to take it.
So I don't understand
Oh, I thought
I
it.
don't understand the it fell apart because
I-
I really want to think we should regionalize.
I thought it very much fell apart, and that's why the only reason we still have candidates is that,
No, when we were doing this, you said you wanted her to pursue both paths.
right? And so I think the only reason we're so far down this path is the other path dead ended. I've not seen a contract brought before us to say, this is the cost for regionalization, building inspector, sign off on it and make it happen.
It wouldn't start until July 1. We were talking about, could we have some backfill by Tony because he's already our building alternate inspector. There was some waiting on one of the towns that's undergoing changes as well to see what that would shake out to be. One of the towns might be leaving, but I've been in regular communication with Bill over at
Do we or do we
Sterling.
not have a contract we could look at and vote on?
I gave you a copy of what the MOU would look like last year. I don't have an updated one yet because we haven't made the decision if that's the direction we want to move in.
So I would go down that path if we had a path to go down. I don't, for me, it was given to us a year ago and nothing has happened on that path. And so I don't have this is what it costs to hire someone. This is what it costs to visualization. Visualization definitely starts on July 1. So we definitely should just go down that path. Because I prefer that path greatly. I just have seen nothing on it happening.
I can certainly provide that information again. I have previously provided it. I can put it on the 23rd
Right,
agenda
but
if you'd like.
generic, so this is an MOU we could pass and sign. Because I didn't think that was at stake.
No, but I have a draft MOU and a draft budget. And so that's why
Do you want
I
us?
want
to-
the next step. So we had a draft. We said go down both paths. That path has not changed. So I don't have, this is definitely something we can sign with these towns to move forward. So we don't hire a building inspector. We go in a collaborative regionalization approach.
I can try to get that
I was
information
waiting for
from
the next step
Sterling.
on that I've not heard. I've heard next steps on hire. This has been posted. We've got these many applicants. I've not heard such progression on the regionalization side.
They have agreed to take us in. They're basically waiting on us. So
Then put something, on the next meeting, we'll vote on it and we'll go down that path.
Okay.
If I'd asked the question, or I wouldn't have known. I've been quite clear that I thought that path had dead ended. So you have our feedback on those and come up with something sort of prioritized that we can sort of hand off to an interim.
Sure.
The consent agenda, we have 2 items on the consent agenda. The approval of the minutes of January 12th and the 26th. The application for 3 one-day special pouring licenses for 19 Carter for a jazz club on February 27th, March 27th, and May 1st.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Other business. We start with a discussion and vote on the appointment of an interim town administrator, the staffing in the interim and the budget for the interim. Where would you like to start with that? Do we want to call someone forward?
Sure.
Would you like to step forward to the microphone? I'll give that as he's doing that. And we had a couple of names sort of sent to us. I reached out to sort of the first person, and we had a great conversation. The sort of scuttlebutt in the various role places I had that he had done great as a town administrator places. You've done a bunch of them before. Since that I don't want to.
I've done 19 interim assignments, of which 12 are town administrator, full public works, town clerk, community development, a recreation director.
And you happen to be available right now at the time of our greatest need, which is great. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Jeff Nutting. I live in Franklin, Massachusetts. I'm honored to be here tonight. Just a little background for those that might be interested. I started in local government in 1976 as a 20-year-old on a finance committee, and that was my gateway into my passion, which I've continued to do 50 years later. I've had several full-time administrative jobs the last 18 years in the town of Franklin, but during my career, I had 19 interim assignments in various communities, mostly all in Eastern Massachusetts. Most recently, a couple times in Lancaster in the last 3 years locally, small town of Hopedale down in Milford. and some other assignments, since I retired in 2019. I continue to love local government and fortunate enough to have been on a member of the select men back then, but now it's select board, school committee and a lot of other local government committees. So I would look forward to working with the board, listening to your discussion of priorities and hopefully be able to work with Dee and keep the ball rolling and help the next person that you choose to be a permanent administrator.
One of the sort of limitations of a three-person select board, of course, is that we can't have conversations about this outside of public meetings. And so to help sort of make sure this conversation today went well, Dee asked the other two members to reach out to you, and they've had their own individual conversations. So all three of us have had individual conversations with you about this. You submitted potentially a draft contract. The rate is $90 an hour for the work that you'd be doing. We've sent that to legal counsel. They came back with some adjustments to it. And then I'm allowed to say in executive session, there were still 3 areas of concern that we've talked about. And so and this has to be done, the open session part is to make the actual changes to the contract, correct?
If you'd like to make changes to the contract,
Yep.
yes, and then vote to authorize the board to sign.
Yep. And so the 3 areas that we changed is the original one put together. We expect this to be about 20 or 22 hours a week, although the contract made it sound more hard on that number than we really want to be because of the nature of this job. Some weeks will be more, hopefully some weeks will be a little bit less. And that after you get into it, if you're willing and we find the budget, we could potentially add to it more, and then we're going to keep sort of untouched on that. And so we're going to sort of remove the hard amount of 20 to 22 hours and say we're estimating it to be about it, and the select board can increase that during the contract period. I think we also made it clear that this is a non-benefited position, and so there's not benefits for it. And I forget the third little change.
Working.
That's the contract accidentally got added that he'd have to run by us any outside work he did, and as a 20 or 22 hour a week stuff, we expected he might have some outside stuff, and so we decided to remove the requirement that it be cleared through the select board, so that if you had the opportunity to present at a conference or some former town wanted to bring you in for something, that you didn't need to wait for a select board meeting to get that approved. The contract really is until sort of the full-time is hired. We're expecting that to be a 3 or 4 month sort of period, and we'll chat more as it gets close to happening. But you would get us through town meeting and likely through about the beginning of the fiscal year.
That would make sense.
Yep. Are we ready sort of for a motion on that piece of it? Because I think if we put everything together, it becomes too complicated to try to pass.
Okay, so is it a motion to approve the contract or
I
motion
think
to approve the
Contract
changes?
with-
Yeah, to move
Contract
the
with
contract with the
benefits.
changes we just talked about, and authorize Kristen to sign it, or me to sign it, or someone to sign it.
First, you'd want to appoint Jeff as the
Oh, right,
interim,
right.
and
It
then
includes
you'd want
appointing.
to.
We've already jumped ahead of stuff. Yes. Yes.
That's my final day. Thank you.
It's easy.
Right,
So
right.
motion to approve Jeff Nutting as the interim
Yep.
town administrator.
Ready?
Oh, sorry, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations on that part.
Thank you.
And then the adjustments to the contract is.
Okay, motions to approve the adjustments to the contract and to designate Scott to sign the contract.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's one part of the staffing issue. Obviously Kristen works more than 20 to 22 hours a week. And so to pull all of this off, there'll be more than just an interim town administrator. We're going to increase Dee's responsibility to sort of be an interim assistant to town administrator. And you actually did some of the work on what the charge would be. Do you want to?
I
Do we
did.
need?
What did I do?
No,
No,
for you?
that is the the interim town administrator
Oh,
charge.
see,
There are two different models, and I think it would be easier for Jeff if we chose one of those. We don't have to do it this instant,
Right.
but I did the research, so I wanted to be able to see it.
and so,
That would be temporary.
right.
Right.
Temporary thinking again until we hire a full-time town administrator
Mhm.
and a few other sort of things. Mostly, I believe, helping sort of with some of the procurement pieces and just other things that to make sure that stuff doesn't fall through the crack, because he will be the sort of help us substantially going from over the bridge between the two as well. It is a plan to increase her rates to the equivalent of $60 an hour. It will be an exempt position, so we don't pay for overtime, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it's sort of exempt now too.
It
isn't
is
Yeah,
exempt
yeah. So we're not changing the classification in that respects.
So a question for you, Steve. As you take on this role, there are going to be things that slide, we're going to be pushing sand around.
Mhm.
Would you be able to just keep like a running list?
Of course.
Of items that do not rise to the level of critical, urgent, oh my
Mhm.
God, what are we gonna do now?
Yes,
So that we can, when we do get back on track, we can pick them up.
of course. Mhm.
Appreciate that.
There a motion to move Dee to sort of an interim assistant town administrator,
So moved.
Temporary.
temporary.
It's
So-
important.
Temporary, because we
So-
don't have a priority. It's temporary, not interim, right, temporary assistant town administrator.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 It occurs to me, we didn't figure out the start date.
Right.
For Jeff. Do we have opinions or a motion to make on a start date?
I would move that Jeff starts on March 2nd and Kristen finishes on March 2nd.
Peg?
I don't like the amount of work that we have to get done. I don't know how much an additional week would do that. As I said, I wish that there was more stuff that was done. But if it makes sense time-wise to have Jeff start on March 2nd, then so be it.
I'll second the motion. I have some of those same concerns, but believe that between sort of Jeff's feedback that this
Mhm.
potentially works best and Kristen's feedback that this works best, I'm gonna trust the experts and support it. And so all in favor of a start date of March 2nd for Jeff, and that moves your and Kristen, you're fine with changing your end date back a week, correct?
That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I think having Jeff be here in full capacity sooner makes the most sense, given where we are in the budget process. Or season, rather.
All in favor of the start date of March 2nd, say aye.
Aye.
And that leaves,
Did you want to vote for when you wanted me to start the temporary position as well?
I think that
8:50. I've given you 2 minutes notice.
does the March 2nd make sense for you as well, Dee?
I think
You're
so.
fine with that? Okay.
Yep.
So March 2nd for that. Is that a motion, Peg?
That is a motion.
Is that it?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any other things before we go on to the third position, my scattered brain has messed up about this yet?
I don't think so.
Okay. And so even with Dee taking on some more responsibility, that leaves us still a gap. And I think we're looking at trying to figure out a temp admin person who will fill in about 19 hours a week from again March 2nd to let's just say the end of the fiscal year. And for the people at home who don't see this, there's actually been a budget that was put together talking about this expenditure and what we would typically be paying for Chris and other stuff. And I think at the end of the day, if I read that spreadsheet correctly, Dee, there's an $80 difference at the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, but we used a
I-
few other lines within the.
Yeah.
Yes.
There might be some transfers that have to be done, but that we believe some savings of, health insurance and others and
Mhm.
benefits. And so that we, despite the way this all might sound to the public,
Mhm.
it's going to be near a wash by the time it is done. At
Mhm.
least that is our goal.
Yes.
And so is there a conversation about the 19-hour admin?
Need to find him or her.
Right, the hard part will be trying to find someone who can sort of do that well, and we will empower Dee and it'll be in her best interest, I think, to try to find someone, so I don't
Yes.
think we need to like encourage her to find someone. And so I think we will approve then a 19-hour temporary admin person for this, the town administrator office starting, let's say March 2nd.
Non-benefited.
Not non-benefited, 19, it's also non-benefited, right?
Motion to approve the position.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Discussing, so I think that's that line item. We've hit them. I've not missed something in that moving target. The town administrator steering committee. I believe we've empowered me to sign the contract with MRI. And so someone is putting together then a town steering committee. Then Kristen, you put in our thing that it's actually in the town bylaw that we have to have a steering committee. And it says the type of people that should be on it. I think personally, and I think we're all sort of on the same page, is that this committee works better if it's not giant.
Correct.
I think there is a sort of 5 or 7 person number that probably works. I think a 25 person number would send 2 years trying to find a meeting time, but and it should include sort of a variety of folks. I don't think tonight I'm trying to come up with names. I think we might try to come up with what you have here is sort of the committee composition best practices. I think we were going to go for
Yeah.
that.
These are not set in stone. These
Yep.
are just what I generated, and I did not give my opinions on anything.
Right.
These are best practices for that type of committee.
And so
Do we put something out on Facebook and the interweb? No?
I don't think so. I think this is the
Great.
board's decision.
well, it's the board's decision, but yeah, thank you, Jeff. I think it is, I think once we
Bye,
have,
Jeff. Thank you.
once we have a sense of how big and the type of people we're looking for, I think we could put one of us could put it out there.
Yep.
And just see if we can beat the bushes. I think it is from sort of my standpoint, again, it's gonna be a select board member. It's gonna be probably someone, at least an employee.
I actually have
Good.
2 right now.
Good.
Mike and Cliff Laporte.
Have you talked to Cliff to know he's willing to do it? Okay.
Yep. And he is
because it just-
retired. He is no longer in the middle of things. I think that is important
Right. So
to
it
get
doesn't-
people who are outside and neutral rather than people in the building.
Yep.
To me, a
Um,
parent, really.
That'd be great. The only one I have in mind is maybe like the president of Link is really great. So maybe he's somebody you could talk to unless you guys have ideas.
I haven't started thinking yet.
So
Okay.
I really think we probably should have someone from a committee chair or two from some of the larger committees, whether it's a FinCom or planning or,
You could kill 2
It's-
birds with one stone
Yeah,
there.
but
You've got a
he's
parent
got
on
FinCom.
FinCom.
no,
It's actually not best practice to have folks who are in the middle of things advocating for this, that, and the other thing, but I know we've done that in the past. I'm just, if you want to look at,
right. So if we have a
Sure.
select board, so would we do a staff member we probably only department heads, we wouldn't consider it enough.
yeah, I think
Right.
it was, we
Right.
didn't want, you
Right.
don't want anybody who's going to work for the person. That is one of 100 reasons that Chief McQuillan is a great choice.
Well, I mean, we don't need to make a decision.
We
tonight. Why
don't,
don't
I
we
just
come
threw
back
you out
to
the ones that I
No.
had, so.
And I like to, so I think we're looking to 5 to 7. It's at least gonna be a select board, at least a resident, at least a department head, at least a parent. And that gives us one sort of wild card for someone else who we think, sort of after we have those, rounds out some group or area of town government or town that is not necessarily. And I think and you can end up, I think that might end up with, we end up with 2 or 3 residents, which is good. We can't have 2 of us because that's open meeting law stuff and we get messy. And so I think what we do is you're the more Facebooky person. If you would, and I think I'd also put it on that I would have it put on the town website. I don't want to rely just on
No.
large company social medias places to.
Do you want
that-
something
that-
in the item too?
I think you already have your committee almost
Right, so.
filled
yeah,
out, so I think
Yeah.
you need to be really careful about
Well-
how much you blast this.
Well,
I think I think this is a very deliberate sort of thing. I think you really need to make sure that the folks you put on this, if you can have
I'm not saying if
specific
they
criteria.
here that they definitely get on it. I want to make
Okay.
sure that our internal think and our internal sort of circles aren't the people who sort of
Yeah.
necessarily dominate some of these.
And I just don't want people to think that we're setting it up to like hint, hint, wink, wink. You know, oh, here comes, I'm not even gonna say a name,
But-
because we'd probably get a resume with that name,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I just want to be careful
Right.
that you don't get 15 people you all have to say no.
Right.
Oh, sorry, look at that, I got yelled at, sorry.
If I may, I think it's the decision of the select board, and
Right.
if folks
It
are
is.
interested, they could approach the select board members because it's
Yep.
ultimately your choice.
So then we
Yeah.
have people email us as part of the,
Yeah,
Whatever we write
and
up.
or reach out to us individually. You're right. I do not believe that your office should be involved in the
No.
vetting of this. And so I think, and you're right, I think we have sort of 3 of 5 or 7 already. And so both people watching and people
Mm-hmm.
who respond, I would still ask that you put something on the town website again, because I don't want major company X or Y to be the only place we sort of
Yep.
put it out there, but this is not a code red thing to send out
No.
or I don't think this is, I have other things I think I want in the item, so.
okay,
And I think at the next meeting, we'll sort of vote formally on the membership, but I think the ones you've recommended, the 2 you've recommended
Yeah.
with by name, and then we figure out a select board member between the 3 of us.
And I threw those out tonight because
Yep.
I was pretty sure we would all be.
Yeah,
probably on board
yeah.
with those.
Yep. And I appreciate that you've reached out to find folks.
Yeah, I try to not throw people under the
Right.
bus unless I'm pretty sure they're gonna say
Well, and
yes.
this whole interim thing has
it depends who they are.
taken a lot of my stuff.
Yeah,
So I think that's enough on this tonight. I think we've agreed to the broad parameters and we'll let the universe, when we get names and other stuff, decide if this is 5 or 7, based on who we
Yeah.
get. C is mine on this is discuss and vote annual town election ballot questions and deadlines. One, the clerk had reached out to me and asked if we were planning any ballot questions for the coming ballot season. I don't believe so. I think it was generated because on the original draft of things that were left over from previous town meetings, a couple of them might have required ballot questions, and I don't think specifically appointments of town positions that are currently elected. I don't think we're talking about doing that at this town meeting. And so I do not think at this point we are talking about any ballot questions for May. I think there is potential override questions if we get further in the budget process, but as we sit right now, you guys don't know that. And not taking action doesn't require a ballot, I mean, a vote. I know that the clerk plays a big role in elections. I also don't think that we can't overdo trying to publicize that there are elections coming up and that people should consider both themselves and convince their friends or neighbors to seriously considering about running for offices. As we point out, there's not been a lot of contested elections in this town. I think a contested election doesn't mean you hate the person who's currently running. I hope it doesn't mean that. I think you can have good debates about the direction of town in stuff and come away still in okay shape. And I'd like to do more of that. And so I was hoping that we could, in their limited time, sort of just have whoever or Kristen, again, put it on the town website that these openings are done. I know that the clerk has already put it in the census that got mailed out. I would double or triple check with her when ballots our nomination papers are due back. Right, and so when I emailed for a clarification, I was told that it was Tuesday, March 24th, not Tuesday, the 11th on the census, or not Tuesday, the 21st, which was on a nomination paper that I saw. Neither of those other dates are Tuesdays, which helps you show those dates might not be right. And so, but it is Tuesday, March 24th, that you have to get signatures back for.
I would recommend that the board ask the town clerk to write that information up so that we're not responsible
Yep.
for getting it wrong.
Yep.
And then we can post it.
And then you post it, with the board's approval. I would write something small to go in the item, that's sort of similar to a personal Facebook post that I did that I thought was fairly, non-partisan. I don't dislike people who have offices now, but I'd love to have more conversation, including I wouldn't be opposed to a contested select board race. And so if it's
And
okay,
you could do that as an op-ed too.
right?
You could do that as a,
item.
it doesn't have to be you can do it as an op-ed.
Yeah, I think I would love it to think that it came from the select board trying to get candidates as opposed to Scott Hawkins trying to get candidates. And so if I could just get a motion that it's okay for me to write something similar to what went out already.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I think that's enough for that
And
particular.
you're right, it did get reposted. Your little write-up, did he?
I did it in both groups.
Yes, but somebody else took it.
Oh, good,
So it's swirling.
good. I would love people to have conversations, and I've stopped and talked to people, and I've had some people approach me with interest in some of the positions that are out there, so I'm happy. Bull House capital discussion, Lisa.
Okay, one of the reasons I put this forward is I think that it might make sense for us to agree on sort of the jurisdiction for those things. And I had provided a document that sort of outlined my understanding of the jurisdiction of how the Bullard House works from a capital standpoint versus a historical has their piece, but the select board cannot statutorily give up its rights when it comes to capital projects. That is sort of under our purview. And given that we've been doing this sort of one way for 30 years, I really think it's reached the point where we maybe need another approach. And that probably goes back to, putting things statutorily a little bit more the way that they're intended to be. It's not really fair to ask historical to be running large capital projects. That really belongs in the purview of the select board. So I gave one example of how we could potentially put together a steering committee that was made up of a select board member, the TA, highway. I threw energy on there because they're doing a bunch of work on it right now, historical. And I wanted to get everybody's thoughts on that and see whether it's something of interest and something that we should do the next step and then talk to historical and see where they are with.
I mean, I like it. I think you all know my feeling that, again, the Bullard House, it just gets kicked down the road. Oh, here's a project. No, never mind. Let's do this one. No, never mind. Let's forget that one. Oh, hey, this is a great idea. We need somebody to do this, and no somebody ever stands forward with this. So it's going on 30 plus years since the town has bought that building. And one would assume that by the 30-year mark, probably older than some of the people in the audience. She's not even paying attention to me.
It is.
We need to move this forward, either move this forward or do something with it, and whatever the do something is, leave it to your own guesses, but we need to move on this. And if this is going to help us move, then I'm okay with giving it a whirl.
But I've said openly several times, I think it is unfair that we have asked Historic Commission to become experts in water flow and septic systems, and I think that's not why anyone joins Historic Commission in any town. I have grave concerns that because of the timing, that even if we voted on this or went forward on this, that it will be fall before any committee could even be put together. I am in favor of going at least down this path and helping allow historic to get back to doing historic stuff. And potentially having people who have some better experience at procurement and contracting and capital projects get involved in that, because I think what we've learned over the last several years is that the Bullet House is not moving forward, and no double negative, because of lack of money. We have approved as a town a bunch of warrant articles that help them go forward. It is the resources and the expertise to do project management and capital projects and contracting that, again, no one jumps on a historic commission to do those type of tasks. And I know it is sort of kicking it down the path, and it's not appointing someone to do it yet. But I think it is a different approach. And I think you're right. I think we end up using this as how we do it in other places in town, where a volunteer committee might have got involved in the thing that the committee is focused on and gets stuck in a path. I think well, I won't give other examples in town right now, but yes, I think it is a worthy of going down.
Yeah, I mean, it's a plan, and when we go and section doesn't work, we tinker with it and we fix it. I mean, that's all part of your, information design model, that you analyze it, you look at it, you implement it, you evaluate it, you tweak it. So I can't see that this is like final, but it's a lot further than where we've been.
Well, and so I think if even tonight we just say we like this in concept, and I think we will find time at March meetings, so we're going to be meeting every week anyway about budget stuff potentially, that we can refine it a little bit more, start talking about the composition, start thinking of names, so thinking of names for it and move it forward. I would be fine to make the motion that as a concept of creating a capital plan or a capital planning committee and capital sort of assistance for the Bullard House. I think we should go forward. I agree.
Such a motion.
Yes.
Seconded.
To create a capital planning committee for the Bullard House.
Yes.
Projects.
Yes. Along the lines what Lisa has written up. And that we'll go into more detail specific about sort of, your write-up has some suggested members, but like.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, I mean.
And it could be, starts of it could be done, like, again, finding the other members and know that the TA will join it when a TA is hired, but. We potentially could have a meeting or two, or even it meets on Tuesdays at 1 and or once and when the TA is hired, they jump into it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. E. The annual town report.
So I had a suggestion.
Yep.
A lot of what was in there comes from, or some of it, a good portion comes
Yep.
from the town administrator report. I was thinking if you like the information that's in that report, I could reformat it into a town administrator select board report, because there is so much overlap between the two reports. And I know Peg and I ran into this last year of who puts what in which side, and it really doesn't matter.
Right, that was the harder part, is what really is select board, really is town administrator at the direction of the select board. And I also think that saves you potentially writing a town administrator report. We already have too much on your agenda, so.
Well, the duplication,
Yeah,
I'd
the
have
duplicate.
to go through and it just doesn't make sense.
And so the chart of grants that I want people to get aware of.
I like that a
right, and
lot. That
so
was my favorite
I
part.
pulled a Lisa as opposed to a Peg Math. Lisa,
Because
and then
Lisa math is a lot.
I actually took, with these help, she put together a folder that had all the minutes in it. I put together a folder that had all the town administrator reports together. And
Nice.
basically said, okay, Gemini, write me a chart that shows me all the grants the town of Berlin did in the past year. And then I removed CPA grants, which are town money. I didn't include in this because that's included in other places. But when people say, the town should go out for grants, we go out for grants and we get grants. Some of these are very substantial grants. The one debate, and I didn't go back and look it up, Kristen, is when did we get the second grant for the bridge? Did that happen before December 31st or after December 31st?
That was before.
And if it's before December 31st, just add it to the chart. I don't have the dollar amount in front of me, but if you could, these are in dollar order.
Mhm.
With ones that are sort of, again, planning commission that are sort of staffing energy, sort of because they weren't dollars, they were sort of staffing or resources. But I thought it was neat to put that together.
Yeah, will do.
Other comments about it, things you thought we should add, things I should we remove? It is interesting what AI, when it pulls out of the minutes, thinks are important things, and I go, well, that's, I don't know if I'd be, I mean, it's something we did, it's, but of the, like, the top 30 things we did for the year, it wouldn't fall in my category.
It is nice seeing AI used for good and not evil though, isn't it?
Along those lines, I would encourage the board to look at putting an AI use policy in place going forward. A lot of towns are struggling with parameters for this right now, and I think it's a hot button topic that would be something to undertake.
When we hire a new town administrator, we'll look at it.
Sure.
As displayed to me is that
That's
some
easy to
respects,
put together.
we don't have a policy about using spell check. We don't have a policy about using grammar checks. You know, where do you put it? You still take full ownership of anything you put out there.
Well, I think
Typos and
the
all.
concern is like with legal stuff, it's not always pulling accurate information. So there's certain areas that the MMA is recommending should be avoided when using ChatGPT.
Yep. Yeah, this is not a legal thing.
Oh, no, I didn't mean
Right,
this.
right, right. And I won't say out loud how you sometimes make sure your AI helps you on legal things. You folks generally fine with this? I would, if you could do a little bit of formatting, because I attempted to try to get those stupid bullet points to line up well, and I gave up before I broke my computer. I did unhighlight some things that it bolded because I thought it was picking weird things to bold. If you decide to, other things should be unbolded to make less bolding, I would be happy with that.
Sure.
Are you fine with this called town administrator and select board report?
I think it's actually really good to present us as a team.
Yep. Is there a motion to approve this?
Seconded,
I
Yeah.
know it's late. and we're
So
hardly-
so moved, there you go. All right, she said so moved, I'll say, seconded, did.
All in favor, again, we'll allow you to make some typos that don't change the intent of anything if you
Yes.
improve some words.
Yeah, Scribner or.
Combine and
non-substantive
do
changes.
whatever,
Not
yeah.
substantive. I think we already have a policy that allows you, when you see non-substantive changes and things,
We
to
do-
make them without having to
yes,
come
we
back to us.
do.
Best
Uh,
policy ever.
Yep, all in favor, say aye.
I
Aye. Okay, now that it is 9:15 or thereabouts, let's get on to the big item of the night. I don't know how far you wanted to get down into the budget.
I think we should be done with the budget for tonight and just do the 1870 town hall modification.
Oh, did I miss that? Sorry, I was so
you
excited to
did.
get to item G.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, Lisa, take away, item F.
Okay, so I realized
Yeah.
that our town hall does not allow a mechanism to have actual town halls with our legislators without paying $125. There's nothing in the policy about that. So I'm bringing forth something to allow the fee to be waived for those types of activities, because I believe civic activities are so important, and I believe that that is fundamentally the purpose that that building was built for. I did want to, Kristen had made a slight change. I did want to change the language just a little bit more.
I apologize, I didn't get
it's
to
okay.
include that, but
So, the red line that she had put in there, I would rather that be no political campaigning, candidate endorsement, or campaign fundraising is permitted under that section.
Right.
Rather
People
than
can still do that for a fee, so if I
for a
want to use
fee,
that for. a
but we're not
fundraiser-
using
Yep,
it
yep,
for
yep, yep,
fundraisers for,
yep.
this is simply for
Yep.
events like town halls with
Yep.
our legislators or candidate forums or
Right.
those types of things that make us better involved in
If
our
the governor wanted to
democracy.
do a town hall at 1870 Town Hall, I wouldn't charge the governor $125. I'd be happy that they're doing a town
Right?
hall in the town of Berlin.
Yes, so we need to
So-
fix that if we want that to happen.
It doesn't say elected official, Berlin elected official, like I don't want town Berlin, like represents the town, like, so if someone from Sturbridge wanted to have their town hall here, I don't know why they would. But is it waived for that?
Huh, The TA has the authority to make that choice
Okay.
as to whether it meets the criteria or not.
Right.
So,
Okay,
um,
I will find leave it at that, because like, if for some reason a
It would be
representative from
really-
like, well, like a
really
representative from
weird.
Hudson wanted to use our 1870 Town Hall because there wasn't something available in Hudson, I don't think I'd be opposed to that. I think if it was, something different. And then this is sort of civic stuff. And so because it's not a political party couldn't rent it for free, a political party, unless they're doing a pure candidate forum.
a candidate forum,
A
I think would
candidate
be fine
forum is a
because
candidate forum, right,
once
right,
again,
right,
that's
right. Yep,
educating
yep,
people
yep.
so they can
Candidate
vote
forum
better,
As
so
opposed to
they can.
fundraisers. And it specifically says that you're not charging admission for stuff. And so, okay, I'll
And I
be
think
fine.
if you add the language Lisa recommended,
Yep.
that's your safeguard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Peg, do you have questions about the change?
Not about the change, but in a couple other places on the form, I have a couple of questions.
Oh, there are other changes that need in other areas.
Well,
Or-
this is a question where it says a storage fee of $30 a month for the groups that have stuff there. Have you talked to them? And are Berlin groups exempt from that?
That was actually something on the list of things that need to be addressed when the agreement is revised as a whole, because there are a couple of things in here that don't necessarily line up with how things are currently happening.
You know, so for instance, there is a private group that stores stuff that is not a town of Berlin, but yet now there is a town, now there is a town of Berlin group in there that we shoved in an office. So who does the storage fee apply to? And have they been told about it?
This is not a change. That storage fee has existed.
I think,
Is it?
but
With the only change he's making is
All right.
this section in yellow, nothing else
yeah,
has changed.
I didn't touch anything else. If the policy, if the thing needs to be revised more, then that would be another discussion for another night. I'm really just making it
Okay.
so, because I think the intent is to have more
Right.
things where
Okay.
our legislators come in and talk about what's
Yep.
going on and answer people's questions, and I think that's brilliant.
So you're just looking for comments on.
But they can't do it if
Yep.
it's
Yep.
$125 every time they
Okay.
do it.
All
That's
right, so
nuts.
yeah, I'm
Especially
fine,
campus.
I'm fine with this, and then
Yep.
we'll leave other questions later.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve this stuff in yellow and
Red.
red with Lisa's improvements to it.
And you have that, right? Or do you need me to send that?
Yep, I have that, and I made a note to change it to the email, the language in your email.
I'll second your motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And as Kristen has said, that I think we are done with the budget
for now.
for tonight. That gets us to board questions and liaison updates. One, but if the question helps, it's gone.
No, I gave you a couple of papers tonight.
Yep.
I'd love if we could vote on one of
Good.
these
Yep.
to give to the interim TA.
Yep.
Um,
Next meeting.
I'd like to formalize a lot of things, like this. You already you have the guardrails, so there's nothing really to be done with those other than informational. I also sort of got going a little bit on the way we do capital projects in general this week. And I'd like to sort of put forward some frameworks around that and some other good government frameworks in the future if you guys are interested, just to formalize some things. Because when I did my research, we should really be only doing 3 to 5 capital projects at a time.
Right.
And as we know, that list is completely unreasonable. It has been way too much for any human TA. And I'd like to sort of start in your frame of mind, doing less at a time.
Hoping when we actually get to talking about warrant articles, that we will be cognizant of this is a new project and we have too many on our list
Well,
and convince both other people in town that that has to wait or put our disapproval on it, so it is less likely to pass at town meeting, or to be clear at town meeting, if it passes, it's a year before this gets moved further.
yeah, and one of the, I actually talked to Tim Wheeler because CPA is a piece of this.
Right.
And it would be things like anything that goes on CPA must have a staff sponsor, which is in all likelihood going to be the TA's office. There needs to be a prioritization of projects coming from CPA and others, so that
Or
we're not
Right, we make sure that there's funding in it for project management and they
Yeah.
get a project manager.
Well, and the
But,
CPA admin was supposed to get MCPPO certified. But that has not happened to date. That would be hugely helpful because those projects all end up in our office because we don't have any other staff.
Yeah.
Right, and we're about to go from 2 to 1 of those for a bit.
Yeah, so.
Yep.
That will probably be the next thing I bring you is something about capital. And that's,
Yep.
brain is done for this evening.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had something that was in my brain and I thought I wrote it down on my list of things on my, to write down. God.
Oh, one more thing, because the town clerk is not running. I am wondering whether we need to put, sort of a contingency line item in the budget to address any potential gaps.
Is this the
Or-
time to put it back on the warrant to make it appointed? Because I know the
But
big,
it won't be in time.
I-
Because once you, I mean, the.
I
ones you
don't
voted on
know
in
at this
past
point,
years-
because there's gonna be an election, because we don't know who's on the thing, I wouldn't even know where to go with that.
Right.
I absolutely think it needs to happen. I think it should have happened last year. But because we are gonna be in a position where we don't know whether people are on the ballot or not,
Right.
I don't know
I
that
know.
we can bring it forth at this point, but I think we may need to look at some gap funding in case we need to hire somebody, in
Yeah.
case we need to up that salary, in case, all of these things.
Uh,
So
not here, but there is such a thing as interim town clerks too, aren't there?
Yep.
there
yeah.
are,
There are, and you also could make that funding adjustment at fall town meeting.
Yep.
When you have more information on how many hours and
I just want to make sure it's on everybody's
the-
mind because it is going to be some sort of change and we don't know what it is yet.
We had select board did our best to try to prepare for this.
We did.
Sometimes you let things fail.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was it.
Breck, I'll go quick. They're planning a movie night sometime in, I don't know when. Oh, February. CPR, they're thinking of doing a couple more classes, maybe in March or August, depending upon availability of the instructor. There was a question in regard to an AED at 1870. I had reached out to Fire Mike about it, and I think, no one realizes the cost associated with putting an AED in there, so I'm not sure where that is gonna fall, if how that'll be picked up, but the information has been asked for. Energy had a great meeting. Tim and Amy brought together folks from National Grid and Weston and Sampson and our 2 fellows to talk about projects, future and current. So we'll get some focus on what's going on. Concom, they still are continuing to run into issues with the snowmobiles there, and in fact, they're starting to like cross roads to get onto the Conservation Committee. So I know that they're continuing to reach out to environmental police because of lack of action on our
Right.
side.
but we had the police chief here. We could have asked him.
I know, with that. Let's see. Oh, so here's a quick question. I was asked by the auxiliary that they're thinking of putting or would like to put flags in memory of a veteran. So, the little garden flags that you put out there. So the question was, who owns the cemetery? Is it the jurisdiction of Cemetery Commission to allow the flags to be posted, or is it the jurisdiction of the board to be posted? They would be put up only for the week of Memorial Day and Veterans Day. They already have people signed up. They will work closely with Highway to make sure that they're not, that they're up when it's mow day for either the cemetery in the center of town or the cemetery on Pleasant Street. So their question was, who do they talk to about putting flags, those little garden flags in?
I believe it's cemetery commission. I think it's in their purview. The maintenance of what goes into cemeteries is their policy.
Okay, all right, and I will
Yeah,
close.
3 cemetery.
Well, there,
There's no veterans in. I don't know south or north. I got in trouble for getting them backwards, but
well, obviously in
the
the center
cemetery
of
that's
town in
not near me.
Pleasant, well, the one on Highland, which I think is north, I think
Yeah.
that they were just looking to put flags where they would be seen
Yeah.
by the most
Yeah.
amount of people, so I will let them know it's cemetery. And here's a fun, here, I will end this on a funny. A couple weeks ago or a month ago, we all know that Jimmy Fallon incorrectly pronounced
Yep,
the town and called us Berlin and not Berlin.
Right.
So look what I found by going through my
Yep.
drawer. It says it's not Berlin, it is Berlin.
Yep.
So I'm thinking that we craft a not snarky, but kind of funny letter to
Yeah.
him, send this to him and make him do a public apology wearing our t-shirt.
ask him.
I will ask him.
No, make is more, you said make, so.
Oh,
we-
ask,
We
sorry,
can't, we
ask.
can't make. him
Ask,
do it.
ask
I
nicely.
think ask- I think ask-
Ask
I think ask
nicely.
nicely. I would, I would.
Nicely, I'm not the one to write the letter, but I will draft it
Yep.
and I will send something
Yep.
around, but as you can tell, it's been in the bottom of the drawer
Yep.
because it's all wrinkled.
Yep.
But I think it would just
Yeah.
be funny if
I think-
we.
See,
did
this is
something.
what happens when the folks from Massachusetts don't actually get your
Right.
town.
Right, they don't get to your town, yes.
Correct.
I did make comments on a whole bunch of forums about it, and notice that we were not the only town. They
Yeah.
just.
Yeah,
they-
no,
they-
we
they
were
did that.
not. We were not the only one.
But are we the only town that has a?
T-shirt.
White
It points out the correct sounding of
As
our
I
names,
did some
yes.
research, there are 26 towns located across the US who are Berlin,
Right.
and our Berlin was the first Berlin. So, yeah, according to the
Yep.
Berlin Encyclopedia of Knowledge, the famous red book.
Yep.
So I'll draft something, I'll send it back around and ask him to make an apology and wear the shirt.
Yep,
So I'm done.
motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.